All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. It is 6 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Halifax Finance Committee. It is March 30th of 2026. This meeting has been posted in accordance with the provisions of MGL 30A 20B and is being recorded and will be posted on Area 58 Community Access Channel. The Finance Committee and its chair reasonably anticipate the following matters will be discussed and or voted on at this meeting. Agenda items may be taken out of order for time management considerations. Committee members in attendance are Cheryl Burke, Mike Bennett, Frank Johnston. I see Rod. I don't see Rod yet. Mm-hmm. Okay. EJ Bryan, Mike Rignetta, and myself. We will go ahead and get started. Our first order of business is an approval of minutes. So we had two sets of minutes out for review for January 20th and for the 2nd of February. Has everybody had an opportunity to read these two sets of minutes?
Yes.
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 Excellent. Do we have any adds, changes, or deletions to said minutes?
I'm good.
That was good.
Okay.
Me too.
Hearing none. And we have do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Very good. So roll call vote. Cheryl?
Yes.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
Yes.
EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Thank you, and I'm a yes as well. So we will have those minutes as approved. So thank you very much.
Hey, Jim Rod's on the line. Was on there too.
There he is.
there he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't on my screen. All right, Rod, do you have an approval for the minutes? I can't hear you.
You're on mute, Rod.
Okay.
Oh, we can't. Okay.
All right. So I guess a thumbs up is an affirmative vote.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So we will move out of that agenda item into the next one, which takes us into our town administrator update. There are two items underneath of there. One is the override update. The other is the warrant article review and vote. So I will actually turn this over to Steve and let him go through his the work product that he has for us to review.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you guys want to go through the PowerPoint on the budget first?
If you can share your screen, Steve,
Yep.
Can you do that?
Yes, I can.
Excellent.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
I lost track of you guys. I can't see you.
All right.
This is going to be problematic, and I need to be able to. Oh, here we go.
There we go.
Got it.
Go ahead. Okay.
I got you, Steve.
There you go. You got both now?
We have both screens, but we also see you. So if you just want to move it over to your PowerPoint.
Yeah, I can do that. It's just a little tough. How about content only? Is that better?
There you go.
Yeah, that's a little better.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Let me just. Did that forward a slide?
You're on your first slide.
Did it go back?
No.
All right. Something's not working here. All right. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you guys can see the slideshow now?
Yeah, just click your agenda page, and I think we'll be running.
Yeah.
All right. So I put this presentation together for just basically to present the 2027 budget. and go through. It's all wrapped into one. The override's wrapped into this as well. We'll show how the monies are reallocated back in with a successful override. But first order of business is just a mini agenda that I put together for this PowerPoint. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
So we have the first slides will be a financial overview. I will then run through the unaffected departments and give you reasons why those departments are unaffected. I will talk about impacted departments after that. We'll move on to suggested override restorations or allocations if with a successful override, and then move on to staffing notes on general government and potential other impacts. So overall, this is the summary table, which is off of the budget document that is on the Excel. This shows us our total expenditures for fiscal year 27 after I'd entered in all the data. So you see 31,542,218.78. And now we'll get into the breakdown, basically overall of how we sort of go through the different departments. So it's a little bit small to see, but you guys do have the ability to follow along on materials plus the spreadsheet that I sent over. This spreadsheet that is shown on this slide matches the one I sent over this afternoon. So you should be able to follow along line by line. The overall budget, just as a right off the top, I'm proposing a 0% COLA for wage and personnel. I know that Jim had requested that at last year's town meeting, there was a question as to what 1% would equal as far as a COLA increase and what 2% would equal for a COLA increase. I've had Lindsay prepare those documents, so we have those ready for town meeting in the event those come up. I believe it is an amount of, I forget here, I think it was like 18,000 and 30,000, something like that, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So we have that information ready for town meeting in the event the question comes up, or if that's something that you guys want to consider, we can get into the exact detail of what those numbers are. Departments that will undergo no impact with the proposed cuts by the town administrator's budget will be the administration office, which is currently just me and Pam at the current time being. Irma was a staff member last year. She was cut from the administration office. So this is an office that was impacted last year. The town clerk is currently at a minimum staffing level. And with the elections coming up, both this upcoming town meeting season, with the override, then plus with midterms coming this fall, town clerks have become busier and busier as a department statewide. And it's very important that we adhere to election compliance, and having 2 staff members there is integral. Now, could we see some open hours differences with them so that they can be more efficient and maybe focus on other compliance issues in their office? I believe that's probably an option that's on the table. The conservation agent, which is basically through an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Bridgewater, runs out on June 30th of 2027. So that's going to be unimpacted. The Board of Health is currently at a minimum staffing level and in a unique situation with their grants as far as the way the department is built. So right now we have the benefit of sitting in the quote unquote chair seat of the shared services group that is responsible for all the towns that are in this region. That gives us some extra grant funding to utilize when we're on our budget. It also allows us a little bit more access to Bob Bucher, who's currently serving as our health agent. And he's actively training a young man named Jalen, who is going to become, hopefully, at some point, the next health agent in the town of Halifax, some 3 to 4 years down the road. He will be put in as the shared services coordinator position under Bob Bucher to maintain the seat in Halifax. So that's something of a succession plan that's currently ongoing. The highway department, as we all know, they have not changed their staffing level in a very long time in this town. They've been a consistent, I forget what the exact number of full-time equivalents was, but they have not changed for upwards of a decade. And then the water department is a very small team of 5 total. And that includes Kathy as far as the admin assistant over there, and then 4 staff members. So it's a very small team. And I think we all know on this call that 2 of the issues that come up the most in a lot of conversations are both our roadways and our water. And if we're going to cut anywhere, I think those are 2 departments where We know we're at minimum staffing levels. We haven't added to the staffing levels in years, and they're getting by at this point. So to cut could potentially be catastrophic. And then again, going back to the total projected cuts in town hall that I've kind of laid out, just on the town hall governmental side is $203,720. That doesn't include police and fire. So we're going to break it down a little bit deeper into the department lines that were cut. First of all, in Lindsay's department, we made the decision to cut the clerical seat, or the assistant, basically the assistant town accountant line, to half-time. This will be tough because Lindsay's already doing it by herself. She's proving that she can do it by herself at this point. We did have that employee recently go out on leave for FMLA. So we know we can get it done, and we also have the implementation of Harper's Payroll and Lockbox software that will be happening very soon, and that should assist us. We're counting on it to assist us in some of the accounting and treasury collection processes.
So, Steve, can I just interject on this one for 1 second? I just want to make sure that it's said, because I think that the implementation of the new software is great, and down the road it's going to be a benefit to make Lindsay's life a lot more tolerable, and that's fantastic. But with any implementation up front, there's typically a lot of, bugs that need to be kicked out, and issues that we might run into early on, and I just worry about this reduction and that coming online simultaneously. I'm not advocating for it to go back to full time right now. I'm just saying that that's an important consideration that I want to make sure was had when the decision was made to make this cut.
Yes, EJ, and you'll see when I talk about allocations where this is prioritized as far as allocations go with this successful override, and moving forward as we look at departmental efficiencies. This is a key position, and we all realize this from a legal compliance and liability standpoint. It's a very important role that Lindsay needs for support as she takes on more and more of the higher level responsibilities in the accounting office, and starts to learn more of those higher level responsibilities. We're gonna need someone that's there, that's able to kind of take on those other responsibilities as well. Now, we do have some staff in-house that could assist with this, and already have been part of the process in other facets that we do hope to keep here, and hopefully be able to kind of cross-train them and be able to cross-collaborate with them in different roles. Okay. So that is part of the overall plan with that in mind.
Okay.
So looking all said and done at the accounting department, there's a savings of approximately $24,469 with the reduction in that line item. Now, obviously, depending on what happens with the person that's in the role or whatever may happen, there may be some unemployment costs associated with that. We don't know yet. So that's something to consider. Now, moving down to information technology, we take a look at the wage line that's unimpacted, and then we look at the expense line that was FY27 proposed and requested was $218,324. And I've reduced that to $178,000. The main reason there is I know that over time I've heard that there are some softwares that could probably be analyzed and removed from usage. I think there's some efficiencies that can be looked at in that department as far as a multitude of things, whether it's hardware, software, how things are purchased, and just general processes. So the plan here with this department is to take those savings this year, really take a closer look at the amount of software we're running, licenses we're running, and try to account for all this in a very detailed spreadsheet so that we have information and we're more on top of what the costs are going to be moving year to year. Right now, it just seems like we don't really have a clean target as far as, what the licenses equate to, and the other information we need to know. What is our annual software cost for mapping, or what is our annual software cost for this other process? We need to find these out, and we need to know what those lines are fluctuating year to year. and what we can remove. I mean, a couple of things I've looked at, like Nearmapper, for instance. I'm just going to bring it up as an example. It's something that the assessing department uses for making their reporting and assessments more accurate. $7,000 per year, right? So I've been talking with the assessing department to make sure that if we're paying $7,000 per year for this software, we better be making at least $7,000 in assessment value going up and getting that money's worth. Because if we have this tool and we're not using it effectively, then why do we have this tool? So that's something that I want to look at in that department and see what these different software programs do. Obviously, being 2.5 months in, I just haven't had time to sit down and fully analyze that. Any questions there? No? Okay, so in the assessor's office, we're going to have a loss of the clerical position. You'll see two changes there. So you'll see the loss of the clerical position, which will lower the clerical line, which is also split with the administrative assessor. And then you look at the principal assessor line. So with this, we have Debbie Dean retiring. The current assessor is retiring on June 30th. And therefore, we'll be bringing someone aboard that will be resetting the rate at hopefully, not hopefully, but likely in the first 2 or 3 steps, 1, 2, or 3. Obviously, we'll try to find someone, that fits that mold. And just to be honest, 1, assessors are very difficult to find these days. And 2, that's a rate that's not going to attract assessors outside of maybe ones that are in-house working towards this position, or 2 in the region that might have part-time abilities right now. And this is also a department where is there the ability to put these services out to a vendor? I don't know. And would it save us money? Again, another question I don't know the answer to. I haven't been able to dive deep enough into it. But obviously, this is a huge part of the town, as this town relies heavily on residential tax base. So we need to make sure our assessing and our assessment numbers are top notch and on point, because this is how we capture most of our money. The approximate savings out of the assessor's department will be about $38,455.
So,
moving on to
Steve, just a quick question. With the impending retirement of our current principal assessor, and just understanding, at least kind of understanding what you had just said, so we have no in-house succession plan. Have we begun any type of recruitment process being 90 days out from this person leaving?
Well, we technically do have an in-house candidate, but the hire is up to the Board of Assessors.
Okay.
So on that front, I hope that the internal candidate is highly considered, because I think they're very capable of the role.
Okay.
But yes, so there is a succession plan in place, but again, the hiring comes directly to that Board of Assessors that, again, they're all elected. So we'll see what happens.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Now moving on to building, zoning, and planning. This has sort of been, planning's kind of been tossed. Well, this has sort of been lumped into one sort of category. Typically it was operated as building, zoning / planning. And now it's going to be all one, with one staff member taking over the 2 administrative roles. So what I've done is I haven't cut fully the building admin role. I've left a little bit of room there to potentially sign an MOU or MOA with the existing planning administrative assistant, and talk to her about potentially taking on more responsibility, as she would be now covering a new set of responsibilities. And that went well. So I believe we have that person in-house as well to make that change and be able to slide over and cover that difference. And again, this would save us about $26,724. Moving on to the treasurer collector's office. Now, this is probably the most impact we're going to talk about tonight. But when you're looking for money, you have to look everywhere, and you have to be equitable about it, and you have to really make some tough decisions. So looking at the treasurer collector's office, a lot of folks always ask why there's more administrative staff in the treasurer collector's office than other offices. Well, it's actually two offices in one, because they're the treasurer and they're the collector. As much as people want to say it's one, it's not one. They do two different things. So therefore, there was a very big reason why we had an assistant collector and an assistant treasurer, and they worked under the treasurer collector. So under this move, we'd be combining the assistant treasurer and assistant collector roles into one role. This would also have to be aided by the implementation of payrolls, Harper's payroll, because the assistant treasurer is currently responsible for all payroll functions. This Harper's payroll should make that lift considerably easier. But to EJ's point, I think there will be some onboarding time with the software in this case, because this is directly related to payroll. The team that's being assembled to deal with the payroll includes myself, it includes Lindsay, it includes Michelle Smith from the Treasurer Collector's Office, it includes Linda McCarthy from the Treasurer Collector's Office. So we're all going to know how to do this. I've implemented Harper's payroll down in Middleborough previously and been part of an implementation team there. I think it's going to be a great product for the town. I'm pretty familiar with it. I should be able to help other folks get used to it pretty quickly. So on that front, I'm excited about it. But again, to EJ's point, there will be some slowdown. And on this front, I think what the slowdown we're going to have to be ready for is folks need to understand we're going to have some deficiencies on the internals. Payrolls, paychecks might get blubbed up, and you're going to have to give us time to make the corrections. It's the way it's going to be. Because on this one, it's going to be, if we make a mistake, we need to correct it. You might just have to wait for the actual correction or the retro or whatever it may be. But there's going to be delays potentially.
Yeah, Steve, and that's where my point was headed. Is there's a lot hinging on Harper's payroll going smooth, not only for Lindsay's world but across the board, all the way down to the employees that are being paid. And if something were to go wrong with Harper's implementation, and we've made all of these reductions across the board, and we have to react to fix an issue that's as serious as employees being paid properly, are we going to have the bandwidth to be able to do that? And what is the contingency plan to make sure that we do? Because I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that we still have to function as a town government, and that's with a lot riding on an implementation. That's just there's a lot of unknowns there that we can't predict.
I'll just say one thing, and I'll let Lindsay speak on the contingency plan, because I think the contingency plan is sort of basically what we do now. That's what it would fall back on. And right now, with the limited staff we have, we still get payroll done today. And this is what it would fall back on. To that point, I think what we have to understand is these cuts have to be made. We're going to see deficiencies in processes, and there's nowhere else to cut. So in prospecting this, we're keeping the person on board that, based on the union contract and based on seniority, is more associated with payroll. And
Steve,
right
I want to interrupt you for 1 second because I want to make sure it's clear. I'm not disputing the cut needing to be made. My argument is not for the money being left in. My argument is just to make sure that we have a plan in place to be able to address the issues. And I know it's outside of the Finance Committee's purview to worry about that, but it's important that we start talking about those things sooner than later.
Yep. Lindsay, can you comment on the current process and who's involved?
Yeah, so what I was going to say was our implementation date, so if the override does not pass, everything that we're cutting would be effective July 1. So Harper's, we are starting prior to that. So hopefully we will have the onboarding team and the training and all of that kind of ironed out prior to the cuts, if they have to be made with the override not going through. The way payroll currently works is it's literally all paper. So the time cards, the cover sheets, they come to my office. typically it is the assistant who does double check everything, make sure everything's correct, and then it comes to Michelle downstairs. She enters it. We do a double check, make sure the totals match, and then I sign off on everything. With the limited hours for the assistant or her just being out on leave currently, I do that process of matching with Michelle. And then she sends it to the payroll company we currently use. I enter it into SoftWrite for the journal entries. So if that had to be a fallback, it would take more time to do it. Sometimes it does take all day because there's things that we can't find that don't match. Any mistakes we do catch, we do fix them right away. With the limited staffing, it just might take a little bit longer to get those corrections done, essentially. But with the Harpers, all of that will be done prior to July 1. So hopefully with the staff we currently have, it would be a little bit easier to then implement it July 1 with the less staff, if that's what the town votes for.
Right. Okay.
Couple
Yes.
questions here, Steve.
Sure, Frank.
First of all, are we going to continue with the third party, or is this new program going to cut the checks through town hall now?
Good question.
I
'Cause we
think it would
currently use
be,
a third party to issue the checks.
we
Correct.
currently do, yes. It is the CDS payroll. The reason
Yes.
why we're changing is because he is no longer doing payroll as of December of 2026. So
That's correct. He's going to retire.
correct. So I do believe Harper's is taking care of all of it.
Well, Harper's will do the cut of the check then through this program.
Yep.
Okay, and I think you may have answered me earlier here, but we're going to implement that in this current fiscal year. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we're kicking off Harper's. I think we just set the date for April 9th.
Yeah.
So like next
So
week.
we're going to start our training and our onboarding with our small team that Steve mentioned earlier. And then we will bring in probably department heads. They wanted to line it up with the quarter for tax purposes. So it'll be the first payroll for June that we actually start using Harper's.
Yeah, so we'll have what do we do, bi-weekly payroll in Halifax or weekly?
Bi-weekly.
So we'd get 2 runs on that then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for the month of June, and then we'd be in the new fiscal.
Yeah.
Steve, you had mentioned if there's hiccups with the pay and stuff, we'll get it paid later. What do the current laws state on that? We need to keep that in mind with these decisions that you're talking about making of when employees have to be paid in a timely fashion.
Yeah, the big one you have to worry about is if you ever do a termination. That's the biggest one.
Well, that's correct on that. But if somebody's short paid, what are the mass laws regarding that? We just kind of make sure we're accounting for that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to look up the statutory MGLs to figure out the timelines, but I'm sure that there's a time span in which we have to turn around retro or whatever the case may be. I mean, we've only had a couple errors in the current system, which is pretty surprising with the amount of paper that flows through it. So I have to give that team kudos, and I honestly hope that the Harpers really takes off some pressure from that team because they've been working hard for years and makes it a little bit easier for them so they can expand their horizon a little bit.
Yeah, just if override fails in the new quarter, the new fiscal, and we're short staffed and trying to make sure payroll is mistakes are balanced in a timely fashion.
Yes.
I've used Harper's, and it's a pretty good system. It's pretty painless. I'm hoping that for the back office, it's also a painless experience. But I'm glad you're thinking about training already, because I think some of the older folks who are not used to a digital implementation of their payroll will definitely could use some support. But it is a pretty good system. We've used it at my agency without a whole lot of trouble. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have experience. Actually, one of the people that is on the implementation team this time around here in Halifax is the same man, Boris, that I worked with in Middleborough on the implementation team there. So I have familiarity even with the folks that we're going to be working with. So I hope that that gives me a little bit more ability to help the folks here get trained up quickly. I have confidence in myself. I have confidence in this team. Like I said, they do a lot with a little right now. The way it's done around here with the paper is insane. So I have to give them a lot of kudos for what they get done today and currently.
All right.
So,
Appreciate
just
it.
looking back at the treasurer collector's office, so the position that would effectively be lost would be the assistant collector, and the approximate savings $43,000. Now, the other note there is that the administrative assistant in the treasurer collector's office would be able to become a floater for multiple departments based on her background and education, and she has a lot of accounting experience. So when we're thinking about potential other cuts in other places that have been cut, depending on what happens with the movement of staff, and we all know how this thing works, is if it fails, people will start looking for other opportunities, especially impacted folks. So we have approached this individual in that department and let them know that we had them in mind for a potential floating position to be able to help in a multitude of ways, especially in our financial department. So back to your point, EJ, making sure we have someone with another set of eyes, not just in the treasurer collector's office, but also to bounce up and potentially help Lindsay upstairs in the accounting office, sitting in the seat next door. And she's also open to expanding her hours. So ultimately, the plan will be to fully reallocate money to the assistant town accountant role and fill that back to full time with a successful override. So moving on to the next slide, town buildings. So this is Scott Materna and his crew. This was another department that experienced a cut last year. They had one of their full-time janitors that took care of town hall, and I believe it was town hall, maybe a couple other smaller buildings. Cut from full-time to part-time. We're just removing the part-time component of that role now at this point. So that's an approximate savings of $25,000. I mean, the impact will just be, we're sort of all just doing our own little extra stuff around here, putting trash out in the hallway, cleaning up our own spaces. But we do have janitorial staff that does come by and vacuum and clean up general areas. So, everyone's just trying to pick up and do a little bit extra themselves. So we'll just keep it going.
Steve, isn't that position currently vacant?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to eliminate that position altogether.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay.
So this is the police department. I know we have the chiefs on the call. So if they want to interject after I go through this slide, I kind of laid out a lot of information that they can help with. So the general budget I want you to take a look at, I left it fully funded on the top lines because the cuts that they proposed come from various different line items throughout their budget. And I listed them down below so you guys can see exactly what they are. In your supplemental materials, you also have the chief's document that they produced that actually address each one of these cuts. So if you guys have any questions for the chiefs, I'd like to give them an opportunity to answer any, speaking to any of those direct line items that they may have listed there. If you guys have any, want to know anything about what the impact might be of losing that line, they're here to answer those questions for you.
Chief, this is Frank here.
Yep.
These numbers don't include any cut in workforce, is that correct, on the officers?
There's one full-time position, Frank.
There is one full-time position.
That's correct.
Okay. And what about the resource officer over at the school? What's going on there? Did you factor those into these numbers by pulling that person?
Yeah, that would be the person that would be that'd be the position that would be pulled. Would be the SRO. So we no longer would have a SRO / court prosecutor full-time officer. We would have to manage with whatever is left over of our workforce.
Okay, so the court officer, that's going to be different people at different times now. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have a couple of officers that are trained that held that position previously, and we would be leaning on them, and also on the current officer that is the SRO now and doing those functions because he'd be back in uniform, back on patrol.
Correct. Any impact to any of the overnight shifts on the weekends or during the week? Are we going to have the same workforce numbers in the evenings overnight and in on the weekends overnight?
No, we were probably two of the overnight shifts. We sometimes have 3 officers. Those would be down to 2 officers.
Okay, so we'll always have at least 2 on the overnights.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have, Chief. Thank you.
Hey, Chief,
Yes.
just a quick question, and you may not have this information right offhand. So I will presume that most of the overnight service calls, both officers will probably respond just from an officer safety aspect. What is the average response time for mutual aid should a second or third call for service come in while the first 2 are occupied?
Yeah, I would be guessing at the time, but I can tell you that we had some discussions today, myself and the deputy, in regards to the potential cuts to the fire department. So you could actually see a situation where two of the officers on the overnight shift respond to a medical, and then the fire department's out on a call. So we would have to request assistance from neighboring department, not only for an ambulance, but also from a police,
Right.
point of view. So it could be, 3, 4, 5 minutes, depending on what the other officers are doing, on the neighboring towns.
Yeah.
They're shorthanded as well. They will be shorthanded as
Right.
this stuff is happening everywhere.
So so our mutual aid agreements for law enforcement are with adjoining towns, or are we reliant on the state police to backfill that?
Neighboring towns, if it gets really bad, then obviously we would be calling Middleborough, which is nearest barracks. But
Okay.
originally, normally we rely on Hanson, East Bridgewater, Plimpton.
Right.
Yeah, the adjoining communities.
Correct.
So Chief, can you go a step further with Jim's question, and what do you see the impacts to mutual aid being with the reductions that you're being put forth to make next year?
Well, it's not very desirable because what's going to happen is the other towns, they're going to have their own responsibilities they have to take care of in their own communities. So there might be times where our response time is going to be, very lengthy. It won't be a normal response time. And, it's just, and again, public safety is one of these things that you never know what can happen or how to plan for something. So there could be times where we could be in some dire straits.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a comment here regarding the reduction in force in the police department. I don't think that that's something that needs to be done. I think we need to maintain the full level service of law enforcement within the community here, due to the fact that the chief makes a very good point. Surrounding communities are contemplating the same type of thing, and I just don't think that we can rely on those as much as we've have in the past for mutual aid. So making a reduction in force here is doesn't get a vote for me at all.
No.
Well, I
have
think-
a question, Chief. This is Rod Hemingway. I've seen the sheriff, a sheriff vehicle at the corner of 58 106. Do they also lend mutual aid as well, or do they have another role that they play in town or certain routes?
So, Rod, the sheriff's office, they provide BCI services, which is crime scene investigations. And what's recently occurred is that the sheriff had to make some drastic cuts on his budget. So basically, he's got a skeleton crew to respond to the odd communities in Plymouth County. So they pretty much gutted his staff. The OIG conducted a study of all the county sheriff's departments, and as a result of that, they had to make some drastic cuts on their budget. So basically, even like matron services, crime scene techs, booking prisoners, all that stuff. It's going to be a skeleton crew. So that's probably what you've seen in town. Because what happens is if we have a motor vehicle accident, we'll have the BCI unit come down and take pictures of the scene. If we have a crime scene, they'll photograph it. So we'll be more reliant on the state police, and obviously we'd just be calling them for serious cases. They're not going to come out for a motor vehicle accident. They'll probably, if we have a, God forbid, a homicide or sexual assault, those types of things, we'll have to call the state police because we'll not have the availability of the sheriff's office to provide those services.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chief, does your team do both criminal patrol and civil process, or does another agency do civil process?
No, most of the civil process is done by the sheriff's office, by their civil division.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? No other questions for Chief Jobs or Deputy Chief Benner?
No.
All right.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. You
Thanks,
guys have
Chief.
been putting in all the hard work. I just want to commend Chief Jobs and Deputy Chief Benner. They were given a tough task to do this, and they accomplished it. It's not easy to do it in any light. So,
You're very welcome. Thank you.
moving on to fire. And I know Chief Witham is also on the call to help out with any explanations. So, as you can see here, the main cut will come from wages directly, because this basically goes from, based on my conversations with the chief, is mostly on call firefighting. And he can really outline the differences in service level better than I can. So Chief, are you there to speak to the differences in service level? And then at the bottom, you can see the total cuts to public safety totaling $290,021 between police and fire. So if anyone has any Chief's questions for Chief, I know he's on the call. Otherwise, you can see the potential impacts that I listed from the letter that he provided me. I also gave you guys a copy of that letter in your supplemental materials so that you could review it and be ready to ask him any questions that you may have. I know that response time has been a big one, and the amount of time in between ambulances could become a very big problem in this town.
I also wanted to ask Chief, you had spoke last time, and I thank you for presenting these proposed very difficult cuts to your budget. You had spoken about if we have staffing levels below a certain amount where we can't do the 2+2 when you arrive at a structure fire, and how not only could that impact potentially loss of life of anyone in the structure, but also the town residents could see an increase in their property tax or their homeowners insurance. Can you speak a bit more to that? I think that's going to be important for residents to understand fully as they make this consideration of this override.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, so I'll get to the insurance part of it first, the ISO rating. So every town has an ISO rating, and basically what that entails is a ton of fundamentals that you have to follow in order to pass a certain rating to get an ISO rating in your community, and that's what your insurance is based off of. So if our level of service goes down, our ISO rating obviously will, be impacted drastically by that. They could come back and say that, the rates will, be increased because we're unable to. They have a certain standard you have to follow. Flow so much water, for a period of time. Your manpower on scene, your manpower right away. There's a lot of criteria you have to meet, but all of those things together will give you your ISO rating. And obviously with, just two members, we wouldn't be able to meet half of the standards that we have to meet to keep the rating where we are. The other thing you just talked about the 2 in, 2 out. This National Fire Protection Agency has standards that we have to follow, meaning 2 in, 2 out is what you mentioned. 2 in, 2 out is basically that if 2 people are in the building, I have to have 2 members standing outside for rescue operations at all times. Sort of like a RIT team, things like that. What my comment on was the other night when I was presenting was the fact that, obviously if we don't have 2 other members to follow them in, there's going to be delay in, the actual, operations on, the fire, the rescue side of it, everything like that. So there could potentially, be other impacted things that that come into play, like life safety, insurance issues because basically the house is burning further than what it should have, things like that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I know the question came up about mutual aid, and I can tell you this, from the last time that I spoke in regards to mutual aid, I've had probably 4 or 5 of the surrounding community chiefs call me and, basically ask me if I was going to get down to 2 members, because it's obviously impacted them as well. So I had a few of the chiefs, reach out to me and say, hey, is this true? Is this what's going on? Is this what your plan is? Because it obviously affects them as well. Like Chief Chop says, the collaboration between the police department and the fire department, we work together very well. But keep in mind that every incident that we go to, PD is responding to us. So now if we have a medical, there's 2 members that are on the ambulance that are out of town, that next medical that comes in, that may be a cardiac arrest, somebody not breathing, whatever the case may be, the PD are trying to respond to that as well. And they're the ones that may be standing by until mutual aid gets there. As far as the response times that, was the question on PD side, you can get a response time that's 15 minutes away. You can get a response time that's 30 minutes away, depending on what's going on. But with cuts in different communities, like what we're talking about, they're not going to have members to respond either. The staffing is going to be decreased. So you may call mutual aid, we may be calling Plimpton, but guess what? Plimpton's not available. So now you go to the next town. How far away is that next town that's coming in? They could be 30 minutes away. So that's a long time for someone to be waiting for an initial call.
Okay, so Chief, I have a quick question. If we can kind of expand on that last statement. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but an average ambulance call is 2.5 hours from time out to time back in house. Is that correct?
Roughly, depending on where they're going. What most of our responses are to either Brockton Hospital, Jordan Hospital, South Shore Hospital. It can be longer, it can be shorter, depending on what the circumstances are. I mean, if you have a broken ankle, it's a quick on-scene time. You get there, you load the patient, you're off, no traffic, no anything else going down Route 3, going to one of the hospitals. You don't have any issues. Your turnaround time, by the time you get the call, go to the house, pick the patient up, go to the hospital, it's roughly around 2 hours. But I've seen them a lot longer because now you're looking at, staffing cuts at the hospitals.
Right.
People trying to get into South Shore Hospital. You may be waiting 50 minutes, 2 hours at the hospital, just waiting for a room to be available. So that 2-hour call could be 3 hours. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen more frequently now.
Okay. So during that time frame, if you can just kind of ballpark an estimate of how often does the town require mutual aid while the first line ambulance is out on a run?
So I can put last year into perspective. I had, and off the top of my head, I'm just ballparking, but I know it's 500 and something. I believe it's 545 calls. So we had multiple calls going on at the same time, meaning 2 or more calls. So those calls would require mutual aid to come in. That's not including any other calls. That's including just multiple calls back to back to back. So you get a medical in, you get a second medical in, and then you get a third medical in, or whatever the case may be. I've been here for a lot of these. I've responded from, obviously my house to a lot of these calls. Mm-hmm. But last year alone, we had 500 and something incidents.
Okay, thank you. So I guess just one final comment, Steve, just from my perspective as just a resident, I think public safety is going to take quite a hit with the level budget, or with the budget that we have, the balanced budget that we've been able to create with the revenues that are available to the town. And I think that's just with surround. We've already heard from the chief of police. Now we've heard from the fire chief. Other towns are also facing the same kind of cuts, which is going to further reduce mutual aid or any other type of response time. If there's anything that we can do to maintain the services of public safety, I think that needs to be paramount. I think we've probably done our best here. But it's going to be a crazy year. I can't think of any other way to put it.
And Jim, worth highlighting is the 100+ units of 55+ that we're adding on top of the strain that we've already put them in.
Yep.
Well, there's that as well. But once again, we cannot decimate our public safety, fire, and police manpower. We have got to maintain current levels on that to adequately protect our town, our residents, our infrastructure, and we do not need issues with homeowners' insurance rates skyrocketing due to the fact that we don't have adequate coverage within our fire department. Those costs alone are a major burden to the homeowners and the business owners of this community. And we have got to look hard at maintaining these two departments, in my opinion, at current staffing levels.
But that means you have to cut somewhere else.
I understand that.
What are you going to do? Get rid of the highway department?
We have to prioritize which departments are the most important to this community, is my personal opinion.
I understand that, and I agree with you, but there's only so much to go around.
I understand that wholeheartedly, Mike.
And it's going to suck in the winter when we can't plow streets.
I think that's the important thing is for the questions that we're asking tonight and the responses that we're getting are what the community needs to hear. And hopefully people watch and understand the gravity of some of these cuts and what it means to the town overall. Because Frank, you're right, they're extremely significant, but we need the community as a whole to agree that they are significant. And if the message isn't getting around to folks, then we're all not doing our job. And I don't mean just us in this room. I mean us as a community aren't doing our job.
Yep.
Someone had a question, Jim. They had the hand raised.
It's me. It's Mary Gravenese. I didn't know if you were able to answer questions from the public right now.
Go ahead, Mary. If you have a question, go ahead and ask.
I just had a question. Does the Finance Committee have any opinion on splitting the override, public safety one amount and the schools for another amount, and putting it two separate items on the ballot?
Too late for that.
Why is it too late for that?
Because the ballot question has already been set.
But I thought at the last selectman meeting or the last finance, they said it wasn't going to be too late to make a change. We had to do the amount, the override amount, but it could be adjusted on how many things we wanted to split it into.
Yep, and the final warrant is due for final approval by a week from today.
And Steve, my understanding is that's a selectman decision anyways. That's not a finance committee decision anyways, correct?
Your budget.
So you're telling me that we don't have time to do this? We have a joint meeting tomorrow night and these decisions can't be made at that point in time, Steve?
It's a lot of work.
I know it's a lot of work. It's a lot of money here we're talking about as well. We got to put the effort into this. We cannot just brush it off to the side.
I mean, we also have to look at the rest of the impacted departments as well and look at where the cuts are going to come from those other departments and what, like for the schools, for example, what's the I think that's the next large budget item that we have to look at, so that we can see where those cuts and how those cuts will be impacting that department.
Well, that was my question. That's why I asked, because it doesn't seem like, and I know I don't think that we have a net spend number yet for the schools, but from what the schools voted on, they were voting for a level service, not level funding. So that was even more. It was 8.1 million. So it doesn't look like they're looking to cut anything. So my question is, if we're concerned, I mean, it looks like the town hall and the town and safety is going to get decimated. What if can we not give people a choice? I mean, I worry about the finance department. I mean, I worry about the treasurer collector. I mean, that's a lot of work for not a lot of people. And you have the school, in my opinion, year after year, that makes minimal cuts. And what they do, they have their line item autonomy. So I'm concerned that they're scaring people, saying that the class sizes are going to go up to 40. We're going to have this, we're going to have that. But when they get their budget, they can decide what to do with it. That doesn't necessarily mean class sizes are going to go up that big. They get to decide what they do with it once they get the money. I have a little bit of an issue with that. So I didn't know if the finance had an opinion one way or the other about the selectmen's suggestion to split the override.
So Mary, I guess, opinion on it aside, what I do want to comment on is everything that you just said about the process in terms of, public safety versus the schools and the cuts that the schools have and have not made. Because I think that's a very important point. And while I'm going to say it's a separate issue, I'm saying that in a first of all, in a respectful way, because I'm not disregarding it, but I also think that it's an overall process issue on how the school is managing that whole budget process, which we are trying to work with Steve on for future years right now. Because you're right, there needs to be more transparency as to what decisions are being made as it relates to the school system. Because we have not had a lens into it for the last 3 years anyways. With that said, what I personally have a hard time with is making a decision that affects children based on what I know is a fractured process that they are not a part of. Because that
I 100% agree. My 3 kids all went to that school. I have no problem. I probably will vote for the override for all of it anyway, just so I don't see any of this happen. But my concern is that you might not have to get rid of one teacher in every grade, but the kids that have 18 kids in a class, they can go up to 22 or 23. So I don't like that it's being put forth from the school as if all 12 teachers, all this, they're not even, I feel like they're not even coming to the middle.
Well, I believe the next slide is schools that we're going to be talking about. So I'm sure there'll be some commentary that we go through as it related to that process. I personally can't disagree with you, Mary. I know what you're saying. But like I said, for me personally, it's hard for me to hold kids accountable for something that is a process that's being managed by adults.
I agree, but my concern is that I don't know that the kids are going to be affected the way that it's being portrayed if we don't have a clear insight as to what the actual money and what the actual numbers are going towards. That is my concern.
Yep. And that's exactly what we're trying to work on with Steve to fix. That's exactly what we're trying to fix. Because it's gone on for too long, and year over year we continue to have this conversation, and we have to find a way to make it stop.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries.
Sorry,
Thank
Jim.
you, Mary. Appreciate the call or question.
Any more questions on fire?
No, let's move.
Moving on to schools. I am still insisting on suggesting a $800,000 cut from the schools. And I don't really, the net school spending number is something that we will find out at this time next year. And if the override doesn't pass, these schools will be penalized by having to enter into a 1/12 budget based on last year's approved numbers. I can agree with everything that's been said. I think that more so than Halifax Elementary is doing anything wrong, I think the state has a formula that's completely broken. When it comes to assessments, when it comes to values, when it comes to the formulas that assign how much the town puts towards this function of schools. Because again, this net school spending number is so elusive and complex that it has A through M of items that you can subtract from it that are qualifying, that not only the schools take care of A through D, and then E through M are items that we can take out and we can assess value to. Things like the building department, in the sense of Scott Materna, half of his salary, half of his insurance cost, half of the materials and expense that he spends, because it's all geared towards the schools. Half of that goes towards that net spending number and draws it down a little bit. So even though they gave us a number of 8,096,000 and change, which is the net school spending number given by the state, that number typically comes down over the course of the year as far as what it will be next year at this time. Now, with that being said, I know that certain communities function with a buffer or a pad above 100% that allows them to, some years, maybe say we're going to cut drastically, and they can afford that cut because there's still a buffer zone, essentially. I don't know where that stands for Halifax exactly, but based on conversations that I've had with Lindsay and the town's consultant that we have as an accountant, Eric Kinshirf, we've been through the numbers, and he believes that we're going to be pretty close on net school spending as far as drawing even, or being pretty close to it. We're not exactly sure. So that does give us a little bit of moment to pause, because what level of free cash are we going to have to set aside in the event next year net school spending isn't met? Because if there is a delta there, or a difference, or a variance, the town's going to have to come up with that so that they're in compliance. Because if they do not, then you have DESI come in with DOR and they reset the tax rate, so that you can make sure that the community can pay for the schools. And I have a feeling that if DOR was to come in and reset the tax rate, we'd be looking at a bigger number than $1.5 million. So that's where that stands. I still, and again, at the school committee, I was surprised to see them sort of ask for level services, with the information all around town was every department across the board was cutting or looking at cuts. So do we have any questions here?
I have a quick question. The Silver Lake assessment is up by $500,000. Why?
Because that's the number they assigned to us.
Right. The number they assigned to us.
Did the administration offer any explanation as to why it's up by $500,000?
Probably at their regional district meeting for their school committee budget approval, which we were, at least I was, I believe the select board had a meeting that night. We could not be there. I will tell you that I am going to be having discussions with the town administrator in Kingston soon to talk about the regional school district, because I think Kingston's maybe experiencing some of the same issues we are. And I think it's time for everything to be looked at, obviously. So again, this is my suggestion, is to stick with the $800,000 cut. And
has the Halifax head count at the high school and middle school changed in the last year?
I do not know the answer to that, Jim. I can jot it down and find out, though.
David, Mike Rognetta, do we, I guess maybe the same question, do we know the number of total students? Is that Jim's question just now, the number of total students that are involved in both programs?
Yeah, the junior and high school.
And the elementary school. I think it's 538 at the elementary school.
The elementary, I believe, is 531 they estimated for next year right now.
And then, in the junior and senior high, we don't know that yet?
I'd have to call the regional district to get the the numbers of Halifax kids that are in the system at the junior and senior high school.
Well, Mike. So as we discussed at the school meeting, it's a two-pronged issue. Number one, the state funding, which was proposed at $150 per pupil, got cut to 75 by the time it reached the governor's desk or reached the Senate for their committees to make their changes. So that dropped in half. And funding from the state is based on head count at the school. And our elementary school, unfortunately, has been leaking head count for the last 6 years to where where it's gone down by 50 students. And what makes that relevant is you get funded to the number of students you have, the net school spending number continues to rise, and then they come back, and then it's the burden is upon the residents to make up the difference as the leakage of students continues.
And that's always been the little bit of quagmire we seem to be running in the last several years here since I've been on this committee.
Yep.
The numbers don't balance on the head counts to the staffing levels.
I think we've all seen the regional school district's budget, and I think we've seen the numbers in there, and we haven't still got clarification on some of the questions we've asked. Because I want to find out what all those district level numbers and how those fluctuate throughout the years of the budget that I look at. Because I know how the Halifax ones work, but the district ones, those ones see some pretty big increases too that I would like to see addressed and just have some explanation on why they're going up so much. So I think everything that's been put on the table tonight is fair questions.
So just to add separate topic before we move on from schools, similar to what we were just talking about earlier. I'm sure that the school committee talked about it at their level, and I'm sure that they had conversations with administration about this, but none that I'm aware of in regards to how these cuts would impact administration directly versus have it go directly to class sizes and the students directly. I don't know the level of conversation that they have had to really look at the staffing across administration versus staffing in the classrooms, because the conversations that I have heard have all started with, consisted of, and ended with students in classrooms. There was never anything as it related to how administration could adapt into some of these changes. So that's an overall concern that I have with regards to the budget that they've requested. To your point, Steve, I just from where I sit, there's some conversations at the administration level that I think could at least be considered.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, I was at the school board meeting last week with several of our colleagues, and as well as you, Steve. And it was difficult to listen to we had what seemed like a productive discussion, and then when it came to vote, they voted $500,000 more than what we thought they might vote for their budget, and it's hard to figure out what. I understand they're all obviously motivated to support the children and making sure the school is robust, and I think that's fantastic. But when the cuts, the requested increase, and then the cuts that would have to happen to other departments, the fact that the library would have to have actually an increase in their budget in order to be able to maintain the library accreditation, there's just so many cascading effects from that enlarged budget that really, really drastically impact the rest of the town. And it was frustrating to hear that the ultimate outcome in such a large increase requested, and how it will impact the other towns. Every other department's linked to each other. Everybody, the police, the fire, the schools, the assessors, everything's intertwined. And when we have one that's too far outside of where it needs to be, it impacts everybody else and everything else.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point, Rod.
Yep. It's all connected. All right, moving on to the Council on Aging. There's other departments on this slide, but the Council on Aging is the focus. You say where else can the money come from? This is an example of where else the money can come from. So when you were talking about police and fire, this is one of the departments that would be on the block next, and they've been cut from $300,000 approximately, or two. What is that? That's get a calculator here. That's effectively $160,000 cut that guts the department. It puts it at a 3-day-a-week status with just the director and volunteers. There is some GATRA money that comes in that will help continue to pay the drivers, but beyond that, I don't know much else what will happen out of that department. It significantly cuts Council on Aging services, and I again, I just want to put this up as an example of if you're to fund something else, you pretty much have to close, shutter the COA, and then there's probably one more slide where you can get it, and that's under culture and recreation. I don't know if the town wants to go there, but we'll take a look on the next slide. But this is $161,000 in savings. You could make it a complete 200 if you just completely slash the other two lines, which would be the director's salary of $49 and the Council on Aging expense, which is $7,300. So that's $56,300 remaining, but then you're shuttering the COA.
Steve, how do we get the director's salary to $49,000? How does that happen? She goes to a part-time position?
She goes to a part-time position, 24 hours a week.
We can.
And what?
That's not. Yeah.
How many people does the Council on Aging service in a week?
Do
we know?
Not sure of the numbers. But you do have a lot of seniors who live in this town that rely on Council on Aging for blood pressure screenings and.
I mean, we have elders who are projected to move into the town if we have the full build out of the over 55 community. This is an incredibly difficult thing.
This is a library. Or maybe this and the library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this level of cut probably has to stay.
No, I would unfortunately I would agree, because I just don't. I agree that some individuals have come to rely on it. I'm just again it becomes a usage question. So how often, how many individuals are using what's offered out of there? And that's outside of making a phone call, looking for something or trying to get them to do something. So people that actually go into the building and are inquiring with the volunteers or the staff, what services they have, who's leveraging those services. I know that there's, I think there's Meals on Wheels that come out of this organization. How many are there? How many Meals on Wheels does the Council on Aging serve a week? So, without lacking some context into the services they actually provide, I agree that, people rely on it, but, what specifically are they relying on? In order to further, kind of make sense of what's going out the door to them.
Steven, do you think there's a way that Darlene can get some of that factual information for us by tomorrow night?
I'm sure if you give her the floor, she will tell you numbers, but I don't know what the foot traffic is through there. I've been in there a couple times in my 2.5 months, and the crowd's about 10 to 12 folks.
I mean, the most important stuff I would assume would be the services that they offer in terms
Yeah,
of
it'd be the vans,
Right.
And
The
it's
transportation.
travel to the appointments,
right.
And,
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, and that will still likely go on even under this model because part of Darlene's salary is also subsidized, or the COA director's salary is subsidized by GATRA funds,
Yeah, it's
as
also
well as some of the GATRA driver wages.
yeah. She's
So
got all, she has to
Go
be
ahead.
open for application time too, right? For like heating assistance, things of that nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
She does with those things of when seniors are putting in requests for those things, helping them be a wayfinder. But again, to Jim's point, I don't know if we compare it to the level of foot traffic at every other service in town. Is it more than the library? No,
Right.
certainly not. And then you try to compare, is it more than town hall? No. So unfortunately, when we're at times like this, we have to consider what's legal for us to have, what's safe for us to have, and what's compliant for us to have. And COA is, in a lot of towns, it's either robust or it's part-time or it's 2 days a week. I mean, there's a lot of communities that get away with part-time models of communities of this size. Now, one thing I will say is the age in this town is moving towards 44 to 60. That is the current demographic that's most populous in town.
Yeah.
So.
Before I know Mary has hand up. Before Mary chimes in, what the comment at the bottom of the slide about staff retention? Why and how long has that been an issue? I know I just heard recently that some people had left or resigned. Do we have?
That's something I want to take a look at, moving forward, because in my time here, I've seen 2 people vacate their seats and just left on the drop of a hat with no notice. They've just left.
Right.
Wow.
So I need to figure that out as well, because part of hiring any open spots over there right now, which they're currently 2 full-time roles, is tenuous, because I don't want to hire anyone, have a situation where then they wouldn't be qualified for time as far as unemployment goes, but again, potentially having to lay them off on July 1st.
Right. Did anyone do exit interviews with those people, or they just left and we haven't heard anything?
I've spoken to the individuals that left,
Right.
but no formal exit interview per se, because it was literally my first week here.
Okay.
That's how new I was.
Right. Well, fair enough. Thank you.
Yep.
I just have one question. Mine was on the landfill engineering and monitoring. Why is that number so high? Is that that landfill situation over there?
That's the town hall landfills, I believe.
Town hall's landfill.
Yeah. That's not Maryland's Landing.
Yeah,
So it's double?
Maryland's a private entity.
Right.
How come it went up so much in the past year or 2? What happened?
Engineering costs money to remain in compliance.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that is based on the contract with who we
I think
have.
it's
the
Tig and
engineer.
Bond. I think it's Tig and Bond.
I believe so, yeah.
It's what?
It's with an engineer named Tig and Bond, so they're responsible for making sure the town complies with their landfill closure standards.
Okay.
There's issues with, I believe there's also issues with the cap out there.
Yeah, there's some erosion issues over there, Steve, that need to be addressed, and these guys are, my understanding, are addressing that.
Yep.
And then there's also the addition of the PFAS testing over there that's been implemented for that landfill now, from what I understand from the monitoring wells.
Yeah, this is essentially, Frank, you're right. This is essentially one of those fixed costs that continues to go up. Much like MS4 our stormwater plan is also seeing a increase this year as well.
Yeah,
It's things that
44% increase.
Yeah, it's things that we are required to do by state law that require more engineering and time because the town of Halifax does not have a town engineer that can handle those things on site and part of their daily responsibilities.
Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, we have X dollars in the PFAS account, which I'm hoping we're going to be applying to some of these fixed costs associated with PFAS on the different properties within the town and not straining our budgets with that. And we can use the PFAS money to supplement that. Is that correct?
Of course, as long as they are appropriate costs that are able to have money allocated from the PFAS funds, yes.
Yeah, because we have significant dollars set aside for that. And Lindsay, correct me if I'm wrong, we have one more check coming, or did we get the third one?
I want to say we got the third one. So that is currently sitting there. We cannot do anything with that money until town meeting. It has to be voted on to appropriate it to either reimburse a previous account that anything PFAS related has came out of. So while yes, that is what would be happening, we do have to pay for it prior to town meeting.
Right.
And then that would just get voted on then.
Yeah, and that third check is for the current settlement that's been out there, and there are additional settlements that are still being worked through the courts regarding the PFAS.
Yep.
Right.
So at the bottom of that slide, you can see that approximate savings there is about $161,351.
Hey, can you back that up one slide, Steve?
Sure.
So
Yep.
the ADA expense, line 124. So 2 years ago, I think, if the committee can keep me straight on that,
2 or 3.
there was an allocation of $500,000.
Right.
Correct.
So have they? I'm presuming if there's only $1 here, they've used it all, or is there still monies that have not been accounted for?
So I just have a question to clarify. Was that this specific line or is that for Scott Materna's ADA line?
There's a difference.
Right. So there's a difference between the two?
Under building maintenance, he has ADA compliant lines.
So what is this line for?
To me, well, that's why I'm asking. Because to me, it just, along with housing authority, looks like something there's always $1 in. So that's why I was looking for the clearance on the question.
So the clarification is the ADA study that we received that we funded for $500,000 2 years ago. So where are those monies at? If they've been exhausted, what's the status of that project? Or the requirements that came with the report.
I can look into it because for this account, the way the budgets are done, when it shows you what the expended amount was, it would be in this specific expense line. So I will have to double check with the building maintenance budget as well.
Okay.
If it's someone's asking for a reasonable accommodation to their residents in any of our housing authority apartments, for example, modifying a bathtub for safety, adding grab bars, etc., would that be under this ADA expense line? Would that then be put in there?
We're not allowed to run deficit spending. We don't do deficit spending. So it would have to be less than $1.
Right.
I just think that these are just two placeholders here, Jim. $1 in each.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, Frank.
How many decades ago did we use each one of those?
Do we need them now?
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Right. We don't need placeholders.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, I can find out about those. I can ask Sandy Nolan would probably know exactly why those are there. You do have a hand up, Jim.
Do I?
Yep.
Oh. Okay. Deb Winowitz, you have a question?
Ms. Winowitz, you're on mute.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry I got here late to the meeting, but the Council on Aging, what would this affect the programs that are held Monday through Friday? The attorney visits, the visiting nurse, the art program, the wellness program, the lunches, how would that affect all this?
We will have to ask Darlene, but I'm assuming if this is not closing down the Council on Aging, we would just have to shift it to other days of the week, and it doesn't necessarily mean the building even needs to be closed. If we can take 24 hours a week and spread it out over 4 or 5 days, it just means shorter hours. So that's something we'll have to work on from an efficiency standpoint and a staffing standpoint, with minimal staff and hopefully more volunteers for Darlene and, or I should again say the COA director.
Okay. I just think it would have a significant negative impact on seniors because there's really not space in that building to double up anything. It's going to hurt a lot of people. That's just my opinion.
Steve,
I understand.
what's the status of the? My understanding was the over 55 community. There was going to be an agreement about them building a new COA.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything going on with that? That we can
What I can say about that is we sat through design, and then we had numbers which were needed to be met as far as design versus cost. Those numbers came in extremely higher than we thought they were going to. And now the designer architect is scrubbing down the building, including potential loss of significant square footage, specifically in the activity room. Again, it just talks about the cost of doing anything these days. It's extremely expensive. And we plan to meet with them in the next, I would say, week or so to go over whatever plans they've been able to develop since having to essentially cut their budget. They came back with a very high number and said, would you like to move forward on this? And we had to say, sorry, we can't move forward on that number. Would you please redesign, and we'll sit back down once that happens and take another look. So I do know that those monies, and Lindsay, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but those monies that are associated with the Council on Aging will not be able to be spent on anything else because they're geared specifically for the Council on Aging.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I know that was a concern for folks, and I just wanted to clarify that was not going to happen. We're not going to take that money out and spend it elsewhere, fix this override. That money's staying put. Regardless of what happens, the Council on Aging could still happen as a result of this process. But in the event that the town needs to say, well, we're going to have to wait for costs to come down, if that's ever, but maybe a redesign or something like that, they're not going to expend those funds right now.
All right. Well, that's for another subject.
Yes, that's for another topic, another night. All right, so this one may interest you guys. This is really done out of an equitable sense. The Recreation Department has never faced, from my understanding, a cut. Very lean department as it is. My concerns over here is we just literally did a conveyance on pickleball courts today. We're going to need to take a look at youth and rec and figure out how to pay for maintenance on some of these things that we have in town and we already have ownership of. Things like the tennis courts that we already have control of and are under disrepair. So we need to come up with an entire maintenance schedule. I'm going to work with Scott Materna, who seems like any word maintenance ends up falling under him. We'll figure it out. But this was just another line that I found. Brings the line down to, I believe, $10,000 total, which is funds for summer youth help programming. And sometimes doesn't get expended. So.
All right.
You've got a hand up.
Chris? Me. Oh, hi, this is Chris Winowitz. I had a question I'm not sure if anyone had raised before. Now that we're taking over the pickleball courts, I know the town tennis courts historically have fallen back on the list to be taken care of and they're in disrepair. I think due to budgets and what's more of a priority. Are we going to be required now to keep that pickleball court in tip-top shape because it's a marketing thing with feather winds and everything?
Yeah,
Is that going to be a big expense?
The town, it was conveyed to the town. It's going to be conveyed to the town. So the town will take ownership. We will have to sit down and discuss usage, hours, things to that effect. Now, walking the site today, I will say it's different than other pickleball courts I've seen as far as the material they used. It's an interesting, so it's basically a concrete pad, and then on top of it is a very thin layer of almost like a mat that goes down and it lets water through. So I think in a lot of today's pickleball courts, what you have is, the water settles into cracks, freezes and expands the courts. You get the cracks, that destroys the courts. Now with concrete, it's less likely to happen as long as the concrete stays whole. And this material seems like it's just a plastic or composite material, should hold. Maintenance costs should be lower on this product. That's what we were told based on the makeup of it. But seeing is believing, so I guess we'll find out.
So I guess just my further question, are we tied to Featherwinds? Like they can demand us to take care of it more than we're able to?
We own it.
Okay, so it's totally up to us then.
So eventually, like we were talking about on site today, they're going to pull that sales office right out of there. That's a trailer, essentially. That's going to be pulled right out of there once they're done building. The construction site that's right across from the pickleball courts will be all shuttered up and closed, and that will go away as well. And the town will own the area that's the pickleball courts and the area just directly around it. So there'll be some trees, light vegetation, mostly just lawn though, and green space. So it will be mainly mowing to keep the grass short, maybe once a week. And then it's got irrigation, so it will be watered regularly. So again, at the beginning, I expect the maintenance cost to be low. But again, I don't know what these materials will do over time. So
thank you.
Steve, when you did your walkthrough today, did they provide you any comparative data to other, I guess, pickleball courts that they built elsewhere or that this product's been used in to give us some kind of a idea of what the ongoing maintenance will be? Or is it just hey, it'll be lower and, thanks for doing business with us?
They didn't, but I will, I'll reach out to them to see if they have some of that. It was mainly what I noticed from just seeing so many pickleball courts go in around me. Being on Cape, I've seen these things installed everywhere. I've heard the noise complaints. I've seen the courts in action, been there, heard the whole rigmarole about it. And I have investigated some of these materials with the Sharon Rec department when they were looking at it. Mm-hmm. So I know that these plastic materials generally, according to the vendors, does last longer, much like the turf with the plastic lasts longer. Oh. But the question becomes, when it fails, how much does it cost to replace? Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, right. All right.
But I hope that will just be a minor fix if it comes up. All right. With that being said,
I just had a question. I just have one more question about that. Can you? Yep. There'll be a property management company obviously taking care of that property because those people are going to be paying a HOA fee, correct?
We will own the pickleball courts and the land around the pickleball courts.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is if we're cutting back our staff in all kinds of places, would it be smarter for us to say for the first year or two, can we use your property maintenance company that's already maintaining the land up to the pickleball courts and up to the green area and use them and pay them a small amount instead of having to use our own people and figure scheduling and all that kind of stuff to maintain that area?
I mean, I imagine from their aesthetic standpoint, they will probably maintain that till they leave town. But I don't know about entering into an agreement. I don't know if they would be amenable to an agreement to maintain the land around something they just conveyed to us. but I could certainly.
No, I agree,
could
but
certainly ask.
they have to maintain the property all around the condos anyway. They're already, I mean, we're not taking care of that, correct?
No, we're just taking care of the pickleball court and the land around the pickleball court, which we now own.
Right. That's a whole separate thing. That's property of the town at that point in time, and under the contractual agreements that were in place earlier on, that's been all conveyed to us as far as maintenance and operations go of those two pieces of property, the COA and the pickleball courts.
Right. So we don't have to maintain anything else besides those two things once they're up. So this one, I can do some explaining on this one. This is the other post-employment benefit trust. I lowered this down to $5,000 from $46,000. This was a suggestion from a couple different financial folks I spoke to, and said it would probably buy us at the max 4 to 5 years of lowering it to this level before we'd have to put it back up to 46 grand. So it buys us time. It's not the best financial management practice when we're looking at funding of these things in the long run, but it's one of the things that could be done to save a chunk of change. For 41 times at the max 5 years will be $205,000 if needed. It's sort of something that, yeah, max 5 years. That's what we. That's
5 years. We've got to come up with that money.
Yeah, it's temporary, and with allocations, this would be one of the line items with a successful override that I would allocate back to 46 grand instantly, and expect to fund that at 46 moving forward.
So I just want to make sure we're clear. We're not going to owe 5 years of $46,000, or we just need to raise it back to $46,000.
We just need to raise it back to $46,000.
Okay.
Can you speak to what the OPEB benefits is?
Yeah, sure, Rod. So it's other post-employment benefits. So it's basically a fund that is being stacked to help fund, post-employment benefits for employees, like their health care, their pensions. What happened was when town and local governments started creating these things, they created all these retirement funds, and then they didn't strategically plan to put enough money in those funds. So now they're realizing the mistake they made. So they're funding these other post-employment benefit funds in order to help with the offset of those in the future when we have a mass wave of employments that are due pensions and other health insurance benefits that go along with being vested and everything else. So this is a fund that builds much like a trust fund, so that down the road, the town can use it to help pay its financial responsibilities when it comes to other post-employment benefits.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
If there's no more questions, this is your summary of cuts across the board with the corresponding line items in the budget. So as you can see, the total is $1,494,065. And this is now moving on to with a successful override. This is the list of items that I would suggest to allocate funding back to with a successful override, starting again with the accounting office, refunding the part-time or from part-time back to full-time assistant town accountant role. In IT expense, I would add $7,000 back to the expense line, bringing it up to $185. In the police department, I would fully fund right up to the ask of the $150,021. The fire department, again, same thing. I would fully fund the $140,000. Looking at the elementary school, this one I'm sort of torn on because we have two options on this. I was able to secure a $50,000 earmark for the schools. How nice of me, huh? But I was able to secure a $50,000 earmark for the schools specifically geared towards special education. So that number technically could be $750,000 if we wanted it to be. We look at the Council on Aging Director. I would restore that back to full time. And then On the wage line, I would not fully restore the 120,000, but I would instead suggest a $50,000 ad to be able to do part-time folks or part-time individuals in both the positions that are available right now, the admin assistant and outreach coordinator. Looking at youth and rec wages, I would restore the $9,186, as that's seen as a very valuable program in town. That's a very low cost item. And then lastly, I would restore the $41,000 to the OPEB trust as listed in line 155. So then you may ask, what does that mean for the other $199,159? After all, we're asking for $1.5 million. So looking at that, there's a couple things that are currently going on right now in town that need funding in order to continue. Right now, I am about to enter into negotiations with the fire, police sergeants, police patrolmen, highway, and mixed unit unions that are all on expiring contracts as of June 30th, 2026. And then there's your dollar totals that I was talking about earlier that Lindsay had put together. So that shows your 1% and 2% wage and personnel COLAs. So if on town meeting floor, you were looking at doing a 1% increase for wage and personnel folks, it'd be 16,645. 2% would be 30,157.
What's the head count there, Steve?
As far as just the wage and personnel staff,
The non-union people.
Lindsay, did we put that list together?
I have it. Give me 1 second because I have it broken out.
Just a number.
The 3 elected officials, so treasurer, clerk, highway, accounting, assessors, building maintenance, water superintendent, library director, COA director, and building.
You use the other switches
It's,
out of the front door.
I believe that was 10.
Is that 10 people?
One.
Yeah, that's so. Let me. I believe Pam might be included. Pam and Caesar are included in that.
Yeah.
So 12.
So 12? 12 or 13. I think I've dropped one. I'm sorry. But these are 12 or 13, I believe.
Jim, are we going to need to give a recommendation on this if it comes up on town?
If someone calls for it from the town meeting on the floor, then we will have to. This is the number we have.
Yeah.
So do we need to align on this in advance of that meeting? I guess is my question for the committee here, and have an opinion one way or the other.
I think that's something we have to put together while we're there.
Right. I think we'll have to put it together while we're there.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wait until town meeting to have an internal conversation about whether or not we support the move or not.
Well, we always meet right before town meeting.
Right.
So that's probably when we will when we would actually vote on that specific item. So I'd asked Steve to put this together based on the experience we had a couple of years back when the town was not willing to give a 2% COLA to the town employees, and asked us to do calculations right there on the floor, which we didn't have the data to do that. So I just want us to be prepared should that question comes up again.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion that we talk about it before town meeting, though.
Yeah, that's what
you can do that in the meeting ahead of the meeting.
I mean,
the town meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
That's when
we have our basic
we
discussion.
could discuss that there.
Right.
Or any other meeting we have before then. We'll have
absolutely. I will absolutely put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
I agree, Jay.
And then if you look directly to the side of that, you see that we've estimated about $80,000 in increases for the various unions across the board, looking at their contracts for this coming year. So that it's the nature of bargaining. I mean, their wages are going to go up. Unfortunately, town, I'm not going to trap myself by saying that, but the town meeting gets to control some of the salaries, and staff get to control or at least bargain for some of theirs. So, but then again, I also added another note there, just so you are aware. This we also have the fire chief and deputy police chief also on expiring contracts, and they will also need to be renegotiated prior to July 1st. And I've already started having discussions with both Chief Witham and Deputy Chief Benner on that front. And then lastly here, I've just got questions, and then this QR code is actually a working code, and eventually there have been items that have been started to be placed in there. As we can, like after this meeting, I'm going to send this over to Caesar. This presentation will be available by scanning that QR. That QR is also going on flyers regarding override information from the Override Study Committee. And in that folder, I intend that people will be able to find information on how we got here, the MMA articles that they put together, Navigating the Storm and the Perfect Storm, about how we got here, other supplemental information that you guys have available to you tonight, so that folks, when they're looking for these resources and referencing these meetings and rewatching them for their information, they'll be able to go find the same resources you guys had available to you tonight. And hopefully that helps them make the best decisions necessary and the decisions that they want to make on their own behalf. So that's the best thing I can offer to the residents.
Sure. So before we close out this section, Steve, I've got probably just a couple of questions about something we really didn't get a chance to discuss here,
Sure.
Which is, so the increase in insurance for the town was 14%. Is that correct?
I believe you are correct, Jim.
I believe so.
14.2%. It went from $1,332,752 to $1,522,003.
Okay. So a couple of quick questions. And if you don't have the answers or there's something that hasn't been discussed, I think that's something that we need to consider. So the first one is, under Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, the Municipal Health Care Insurance Reform Act, Sections 21 to 23 allows towns to alter plan designs when it comes to, specific prescriptions or other parts of the medical plans. Have we leveraged that at all?
Can you repeat that? I can't hear with the noise next door.
Okay. It's so the Municipal Healthcare Insurance Reform Act.
Yep.
Chapter 32B of Mass General Law, Sections 21 to 23 allows towns to alter plan designs. Have we leveraged that or looked at that to drive that cost down a little bit?
I could certainly look at it.
Okay. So, the next one, is there any relief from the state? Because the state's Healthcare Policy Commission set a target of 3.6% for insurance increases. So is there anything at the state level that's forthcoming to try to manage the 14% increase?
I'm going to say no on that because Plymouth is made to live with their 26.
Ew.
So Plymouth is dealing with a very dire health insurance situation.
Sure. So even if the state
and I just know I can look into it. I just said that just to sort of, I know Plymouth looked into it and they've looked into everything because when they got hit with this news, it was, I think, like $4 million or something insane like that.
Right.
So they've looked into a lot of these. Like one option I can also bring up, I know Rockland was successful in doing this, but they went out for a new bid.
Yeah. That was my last piece, was looking at changing purchasing groups.
Right, exactly.
Which is not gonna win you any fans on the internal side. I mean, The one thing they did do in Rockland is they went to United, which does not have the best track record. That's why they were able to save so much money. Again,
Well,
something we can certainly take a look at. I know the town administrator in Rockland very well. So I had actually planned on having a conversation with him to discuss the differences in insurance, because that would be a huge concern for, I believe, the internal staff that already pays a 50-50 rate on insurance. Sure, their insurance would get cheaper, but would they get the same bang for their buck? I don't know. But is that
I can appreciate the better the devil you know than the devil you don't. I certainly get that.
Yep.
But I think it's also, if these alternatives are there, then, if we haven't at least looked into them, then we haven't really fulfilled our fiduciary responsibility to the residents.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've started to look into them, because I can tell you that I've already had conversations in the treasurer collector's office the day after I heard news Rockland saved $600,000 on their insurance. I went directly to the treasurer collector's office and I said, so can we do this?
Right.
If I go out to bid on this and we get them, now, of course, we can do a couple of different bids in a way that you set the level of services you want to come in. Will that make the bids more restrictive and a little bit higher? Sure. But we'll make sure that we're able to control some of the things that employees really particularly want in their health insurance, and then we could weigh it that way. Sure. So I think there's certainly options there to look at this, definitely working towards FY28. Right now, obviously, going out to bid on insurance is tight. And then I don't know how that interacts with as far as qualifying events with your insurance, switch of insurance, all that stuff. So that's probably a big item to turn over right now. So I would be concerned with bandwidth right now. Not something I don't mind looking at directly after town meeting heading into next year. But this year, it seems like it would be a huge commitment to get done before town meeting.
Fair point. But I think the alternatives need to be at least looked at. I'd rather have something, kind of something. I think it's just I think it just comes off better if we have something that we can at least say we're looking at the stuff, than just, hey, here's a big sandwich, take a bite.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't have an RFP process before town meeting. So
I certainly understand that.
But the point you're making, Jim, is going forward, it's definitely worth looking at.
Oh, yeah.
In the private sector, is a lot of us are well versed in. Every year they went through this.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Out to bid every year.
Goes out to bid every year.
Oh, I'm perfectly fine going out to bid on it. And I mean, I'm perfectly fine looking at the insurances and, having previous experience working in a medical billing office. I know what I'm looking at.
Right.
So I'm not afraid of that process by any means.
Right.
It's just, I know I just don't have the bandwidth right now.
Understood.
No.
I'm not asking you to do it in the next 6 weeks.
Well, that's what I thought at first, Jim.
No. Okay. Anybody have any further questions on the PowerPoint that we just walked through?
No, thank you, Steve.
Yeah, no questions. Just I want to thank you, Steve. That's a great presentation. Hope the town residents take advantage of the information and they seek it out and they pay attention to it, because it affects all of us. So to go to town meetings and to the ballot box and not have as much information as they can possibly have is not fair to the rest of their town mates. So I appreciate all the work you guys did on this, Lindsay, you, everybody. It's a hell of a piece of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. It has been a lot of work. I've got a great team. I inherited a great team here. It's a small team, but they're mighty. And I hope to, I know people were talking about the cuts, but I'm very confident in this team, regardless of which way this goes. So, and I'm going to stand behind them 100% of the way.
Excellent work, you and your team pulling it all together, letting us look at it, letting the residents get a feel for what's getting ready to happen here. A lot of detail in there. like Mike said, they got to pay attention. They got to get educated. They got to understand this is the real deal going down right now, and everybody's got to get in on it.
Yep. And I plan on next step is bringing it to the masses and getting it out there in whatever way we can to everybody. Like you guys said, the more people that see this, I think the more education they have, they'll have the ability to make the right decision for themselves. You know, we're not asking them to make decisions for others. We're asking them to make decisions for themselves.
And Steve, every comment that I made was in support of your team. I know how good your team is. I want to make sure that you understand that. It was actually out of fear for the strain, because when there's strain, it's hard to retain, right? So
very hard. Yes.
So that's where every single one of my questions was coming from.
I get it. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome, Cheryl. Thank you.
All right, Steve, you want to pull up your spreadsheet so we can have the finance committee do a vote on the sections of the budget as it stands currently?
All right, you guys see that?
There you go.
There you go.
Do you need it bigger?
Please.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Let me just get to the top. That big enough?
Yeah. That's good.
All right. How do you want to do this, Jim? I'm following your lead on this.
So yeah, let's so I'm gonna put it to the committee. There's one of two ways I was thinking of doing this. The first way is to go line by line. There's 155 lines. The second way, which I think is more efficient, as we've already walked through each section, is to go through general government, police, fire, and then each block as it goes. So we would be going down to the bottom if you want to go there. So stop, go down.
You got to bear with me. It's
there you
a
go.
little
So
glitchy right
line
now.
54. So I was thinking we could vote on the general government, or we can go line by line. What is the committee's preference?
Groups.
Line by line, please.
I'm in favor of doing it by the departments or the groupings that we currently have it laid out as.
I second that.
All right.
Yes.
We know where the line by line goes.
Cheryl, you okay with that?
And if there's something in the general group, I think that we should be able to speak on that particular line.
Yeah, we can hold a line. We can hold a line if we want to hold a line.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Very good.
For the general government, not line by line.
What was that, Cheryl?
I don't want to do line by line. Can't we do?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna do the groups.
So that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Cheryl, you win.
Thank you.
It was big of Mike to back down.
Okay. Each line is going to require a voice vote, or each group, shall I say?
Yes, groupings.
Okay.
Okay. So, is there a motion?
Let me ask you this real quick, Jim, just to understand the game rules here. We're talking about voting on the override number, is that correct?
No, we're voting on the town administrator recommendation column, which is the cuts.
Okay, the TA recommendations.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that gives us the balanced budget based on the revenues that are available to the town today.
I'll show you guys the page one synopsis real quick, so you can get a feel for the entire document and where we stand right now. So if this is actually easier to see, you can see the expenditures over here on the left.
Yeah, you have to blow that up.
You're gonna make that a little bit bigger. Steve.
Make it
Perfect.
Okay. Cool.
So Jim, do you want to read them out and we'll just, we'll motion and second them once you read them out?
So, yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. So,
Okay.
is there a motion to approve the FY27 budget for general government for $1.893031 million for FY27?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Cheryl?
Yes.
Mike Bennett? Mike Bennett. Mike, can you hear me?
Mike?
Mike.
Oh, yeah, I lost my sound for a second there. Sorry,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Frank Johnston?
Yes.
Ed Bryan?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod Hemingway?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. So the general government category has been approved by the Finance Committee. Okay, moving on. Public Safety Police. Is there a motion to approve the budget of $1,810,433 for FY27 for the police department?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. Roll call vote. Cheryl?
No.
Was that no, Cheryl?
That's no.
Okay. Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
No.
Okay. EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod Hemingway?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well, so that passes 5-2. Police Fire Department. Is there a motion on the floor to approve the fire department budget for fiscal year 27 of $1,700,254?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Cheryl?
No.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
No.
EJ Bryan?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod Hemingway?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That is a 5-2 in favor of. Moving down. Total other public safety. Is there a motion on the floor to approve $114,437 for other public safety?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Cheryl?
Yes.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
Yes.
EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well.
Just one comment on that, Jim, real quick. Just to clarify, so folks see that's actually a police cut.
The animal
So-
control.
It's animal control, right, Frank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's combined with the it doesn't count towards the earlier police line.
Right.
It counts towards the overall. So thank you.
All right. And I think the last one here under public safety is dispatch services for $200,000. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Cheryl?
Yes.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
Yes.
EJ,
Yes.
Mike Rignetta,
Yes.
Rod Hemingway,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Next category, please. Schools. Okay.
Jim, maybe we should do 2 votes on this, do you think? Because the elementary school number is drastically different than the assessment they sent over versus the Silver Lake. Just up to you. I don't know what the potential impact is, or if you're just going to vote the ultimate line.
I see what you're saying there, Stephen. Right. The elementary school is a department of the town. That really should be laid out separately, as far as I'm concerned. And the rest falls under the regional. Is that correct?
Yeah. No.
So that's not necessarily true because there's a $70,000 vocational education line in the elementary school budget.
I see that. Right.
So I guess just do it as a total, and we'll just make sure we make that adjustment.
The vocational education, that is for the Silver Lake side of this. Is that correct, Steve?
No.
No, it's Halifax's component of tuition for out of
district
kids
placement.
that need to be sent. Kids go to Voc school as opposed to Silver Lake.
Correct. So that's where they're getting their education under that number there. We went from 32,000 to 126,000. So that tells me we have additional students now.
Yeah, but we won't know. We won't know until I think it's April 15th. We'll know that official number.
Didn't they have to apply by the end of March? So wouldn't we know the head count?
April 1st
Exactly.
was the
So
last
they have
day.
to. I think it's April 1st they have to apply by, and they know by the 15th is when they have to enroll by.
Yeah, wasn't that captured as a line item under the elementary school budget specifically, though, not sitting outside here in the vocational educational budget line item? I'm almost positive it was.
Oh yes, absolutely. There's 2 line items on the HES budget, one for 70,000 for vocational education, another for 7,000.
Yeah.
They were classified differently. One was coming out of the elementary school or assigned to the elementary school. The other was called a district-wide cost that I believe we pay or the school pays as part of the regionalization. So.
Yeah, so how do you want to handle this thing? Because this is a delicate spot for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we could do, and I think it's really up to the committee and how they want to do this. My opinion, we should vote on the elementary school separately and then everything else.
Agreed.
I agree.
I agree.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Since we exercise, or the town can exercise a little more rigor over the elementary school than we can over the regionalization or the regional high school and middle school.
Well, let's get at it.
Okay. All right. So, elementary school costs for FY27. Is there a motion on the floor to approve $6,931,771?
So moved.
Second.
Very good. Cheryl?
Yes.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
Yes.
EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod Hemingway?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So the elementary school budget that is approved by the Finance Committee for FY27 is $6,931,771. That leaves a balance of
Okay.
$9,687, $9,687, $327.
I don't know.
328. I'm sorry.
for what's the balance for, Steve?
For the remaining, so lines 72 through 76 is what I added up.
72 to 76, so 9 million.
Yeah, let me just.
Not right.
$9,687,328.
Yep, that's what I got.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
9,687,328. All right. So, is there a motion on the floor to approve $9,687,328 to fund the balance of these schools for FY27?
Jim, and that's line 72 through 76, and that includes the vocational,
correct.
right?
That's correct.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Cheryl?
No.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
No.
That was wrong.
EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod Hemingway?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That is a 5-2 vote.
Yeah. Okay.
5-2 to vote to fund the balance of the school budget, $9,687,328. Okay, down to Public Works. Is there a motion on the floor to approve $1,015,480 for FY27 for the Halifax Public Works Highway Department?
So moved.
Very good.
Second.
Roll call vote. Cheryl?
Yes.
Shane Walters.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
Yes.
EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod Hemingway?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So the $1,015,480 for the highway department is approved. Cemetery. Is there a motion on the floor to approve $93,456 for the cemetery?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Very good. Roll call vote. Cheryl?
Yes.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnson?
Yes.
EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod Hemingway?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. The budget for the cemetery, 93,456 is passed. Public Works, this is
Water.
Water.
Is there a motion on the floor for the water department for $899,073?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Very good. Cheryl?
Yes.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
Yes.
EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod Hemingway?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Solid waste. Is there a motion on the floor to approve $594,036 for the Public Works Solid Waste Management?
Yeah. So moved.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Roll call vote. Cheryl?
Yes.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
No.
EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta,
Yes.
Rod Hemingway.
No.
I am a yes as well. That is a 5-2 vote on solid waste management for 594, 036. Okay. Health and Human Services. Is there a motion on the floor to approve $441,168 for Health and Human Services?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Cheryl?
No.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
Yes.
EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod Hemingway?
No.
And I am a yes as well. That is a 5-2 carry for $441,168 for Health and Human Services. Total Culture and Recreation. Is there a motion on the floor to approve $583,644 for the Health and Human Services?
So moved.
We just,
Roll call vote. Cheryl?
Yes.
Mike Bennett?
yes, but I have a question. You mean culture and rec, right?
I'm sorry. Culture and Rec. My apologies.
Nope, just wanted to be clear.
So is that your vote?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm good for it.
Very good. Frank Johnston?
Yes.
EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod Hemingway?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. 583,644 is approved. So into some fixed costs and debt service. So is there a motion on the floor to approve $434,400 for debt service for the town of Halifax?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Cheryl?
Yes.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
Yes.
EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod Hemingway?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That passes 7-0. And then into our fixed costs, which contain the insurance, Medicare costs, OPEB trust, gas and oil, heating oil for all buildings, for a total of $4,502,974.
So moved. If that's what you're looking for.
Yes, I'm looking for.
Do you want to call it the department? You can call it the total.
Fixed costs for the town of Halifax.
So moved.
Yeah, I'll second.
Very good. Cheryl?
Yes.
Mike Bennett?
Yes.
Frank Johnston?
Yes.
EJ?
Yes.
Mike Rignetta?
Yes.
Rod Hemingway?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So those are all the groupings. So we have a final general operating budget of $30,901,485. Okay. That is the budget in and of itself as the funds that are currently available to the town. So we reviewed the cuts through the PowerPoint and the deck. Again, just to echo what everyone else said, Steve, good work on that. So thank you very much for it. I think the next subject that we have in front of us is the draft warrant.
Yep. Let me share my screen again. Can you guys see that?
Not yet, Steve.
Not yet.
There you go.
All right. So, yes, we'll quickly, as fast, we have a hand up, Jim.
We do? Oh, Chris, go ahead.
I just wanted to make one point, because I'm not sure if I'll make it to the meeting tomorrow night. This not so much for you guys, but for the public. Even though the voting on budget that just happened, for instance, the highway department was staying the same, just so the public is aware that they are still getting a very significant cut in their state aid for road budget. I think it's nearly half of the money, just to make up that point.
No, that's true. Yes, it was, I think, 700,000 last year, and I think it was only 3 or 4 this year.
450, I think,
Yeah.
something in that neighborhood. Yep. So it's about 250 less than what it was last year. Yeah, thank you for that point, Chris. That is good to know for the public. So now we're going to attack the warrant articles, so you guys can at least have an idea of what's on the budget, so you can get ready for your recommendations, or what's on the warrant. Excuse me. So the first few pages here, I am currently working on the report that goes from the Finance Committee. We'll have you guys look at it before it gets approved. So Article 1, right here in the middle, you can see that I will zoom in a little bit, see if I can get this to one
Just
page.
take the view down to one page.
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. So
Can you go-
Article 1.
Steve?
What was that?
Just go back up for 1 second. Can you make sure you add Rod's name to the bottom of the committee?
Yep, I've got that on my notes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I just haven't made my way through that document yet.
All right.
But Rod, yes, you're definitely on my notes of stickies that are going in the bottom of that document. So.
Only at the bottom, Rod.
So Article 1, to see if the town will vote to amend the wage and personnel bylaw as presented below and as recommended by the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee, or take any other action relative thereto. So as we spoke about during the presentation, I have given, Lindsay was able to provide information, so you guys will have that on town meeting floor. We can discuss that beforehand, however you see fit, but that's just there for your edification, I guess. Moving on to Article 2, to see if the town will vote to adjust the elected officials' salaries. So same thing, same general question as the first one. I did hear from Town Council Dorenzis, and there is a way to consolidate these articles. I don't know what that will do to the process the town has, where the first 3 articles have always been traditionally articles that deal with those 3 items. So I would want to talk to, obviously, the Board of Selectmen about that before making any moves on that. Article 3A gets into what you guys just looked at and approved, which is the town administrator's proposed FY 2027 budget, including the cuts.
Yeah.
So this item in the warrant, and so for any members of the public and residents that are on the call, this is the copy of the budget you will see in your warrant. And as you go down through this item, you'll see a letter like A that will refer to a table later that will talk about the allocation of a potential successful override. So as you see A, B, those correspond to a table lower down. So just keep that in mind as you go through this table. So we keep scrolling down. We've talked about pretty much all of this tonight. This is exactly what we just went over. You can see it still needs some slight adjustments to make sure the pages line up. Get the TA recommended and all that top stuff on the right pages. Me and Lindsay are going to address the funding notes because we had to revise this from last year. So this is still an item we're working on. And then we get into Article 3B, which specifically addresses the override. And this is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate an additional sum of $1.5 million to supplement the annual town budget adopted under Article 3A of this warrant. So as you look through this list, these are the suggestions that I have and I just made during the last presentation about budget allocations with a successful override. The dollar amounts all match up, and everything that we just explained is basically in that table. So if there's any other additional questions, I can take them now. But as you can see, I added another clarification here saying the letters designate directly the same lettered items in the town administrator's recommended budget so that residents don't get confused. I'm also probably going to do a supplemental document for town meeting so folks can have this in one spot. they'll have the budget document and then they'll also have the supplemental table so that they quickly can intertwine both of them and say, oh, okay, that's line what? And then they can go and refer to it on the budget to see exactly where that line's trended over the last few years. So looking at Article 4.
Hey, Steve, can we back up real quick?
Sure, Frank.
Back onto the override. I think it's important that we discuss real quick here how the override works at town meeting for approval, non-approval, and then where does it go from there into the Saturday election? How that kind of lays out so everybody understands that, please.
Yep, sure, Frank. Thank you for slowing me down on that. Yeah, so that's a good point. So at town meeting, and again, at town meeting, the floor will have the right to amend the budget, the potential override, a number of things. So this is quote unquote the final budget, but it, as always has been, will be amendable on town meeting floor. So the way this works is at town meeting, if you approve, you still vote to approve 3A because that's the default budget. Then you move on to the allocation budget with the override. This will be going to the ballot. So it needs two pieces. It needs a successful town meeting vote, meaning it needs to be passed in some semblance on town meeting floor. Does it need to be the amount of $1.5 million? No, it does not. That number can be amended on town meeting floor and might come in where the town decides we only want to allocate 1.2 million or 1.1 million and do what they want with it. After town meeting and whatever is settled, if they decide to go with the override and it gets a positive vote at town meeting, it carries over to Saturday's vote where then the residents will face it at the ballot box. And that means whether they attended town meeting or not, they will have the opportunity to vote on it at the ballot box on the Saturday following town meeting. So that is May 16th. So this is a two-part equation. Whatever is approved, if anything, at town meeting on Monday, May 11th, will then carry into that Saturday. It will also need to carry through the ballot box in order to be approved. So a momentary victory in time could be happening Monday night with a successful override. At least that's the way I see it. And then Saturday be defeated at the ballot box. So yes, it's important that we carry that knowledge forward, understanding that it's not just town meeting. We need town meeting to carry then to that weekend and that momentum to follow to the ballot box. So thank you for that, Frank. Is that enough explanation for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Dave, actually quickly, just for the residents' clarification and maybe for me too.
Sure.
If they did decide to change that amount of 1.5 million during town meeting, who then decides where the differences get allocated? Right. You have your supplemental budget allocation listed out extremely well with the letters corresponding. If they say if the town decides at town meeting, they only want to allocate $1 million. What then happens with your plan of supplemental budget allocations? Is that completely thrown out and they get to decide where the money goes? Who makes that decision at that point?
So the baseline budget is what's basically going to be voted in. And so that's the default budget.
Yep.
So that'll be the approved budget. And then you move on to whether or not the residents want to do an override.
Right.
And whatever amount they decide with the override, there will be clear amendments and locations to where that money will go. The town meeting floor has to make it very clear, like I did during my presentation. They will have to say, we want to allocate this amount of money to this line in the town, in whatever department A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then that will carry forward because Sue Lawless will be there taking all the minutes for town meeting. And it is her responsibility to essentially, if this budget gets pieced together on town meeting floor, she will have all those amendments. And then we will go to the ballot box. Now, furthermore on your question, so if it's amended at town meeting and the amount is $1.1 million, the amount that will be voted on that Saturday is still 1.5. because that was what was put to the ballot box. Now, the 1.1, say in a theoretical, hypothetical conversation now, the town decides to approve $1.1 million of the 1.5 override. It's successful, gets passed the town meeting on Monday, 1.1, and then the residents vote it through on Saturday. The 1.1 will be allocated, but the 1.5 will happen, but it will be set, that 400,000 will be set aside for next year and not able to be allocated. But it will give the town buffer and the ability to collect that money. I shouldn't say grab, but collect that money through typical tax collection next year. So it's sort of, in a way, it's a mini two-phased override, because you would have more collection ability next year without having to go through an override vote.
So a motion on the floor at town meeting isn't really going to change the override number. It's going to change the override distribution.
Allocations, correct, EJ?
Yeah, okay.
And that's what I was hoping to get clarification on, just for the general public. And at that point, then who decides where the money gets allocated, right? So they decide 1.1, that changes your supplemental budget allocations, or do they change that? Can the public literally say, the residents vote and say, we agree, we want to amend the 1.5 million to 1.1 million, and we want everything to go to every other department, but we want to only give the elementary school 400,000, not 800,000. Can that happen?
Theoretically, that could happen. Yeah, you'd have to get the support on town meeting floor, but yeah, that could theoretically happen.
Just wanted to get clarification. Thank
you. And that's the whole essence. That's the whole essence of town meeting, is that you're giving the power to the residents, so they could decide that they only want to fund public safety and nothing else.
Right. So the question that we had, and not to backtrack, but the question that we came up last week and then earlier tonight in the original conversations about splitting out the override amount to two different segments, basically was sort of a non-starter, because they could still do it.
They could still alter those dollar amounts. Yeah, those allocations.
Thank you. Hope that wasn't too much of an...
Yeah, that's a good question.
Confusing.
So moving down to Article 4, as long as we've covered everything that needs to be covered in Article 3B. So, Article 4, the establishment of a new revolving fund that is related to the EV chargers. Right now, we have money that comes into a fund. It is sitting. And we need to be able to create a revolving fund so that we can address things like maintenance, software updates, etc. These are on 5-year contracts right now for service and maintenance. But ultimately, they won't be on 5-year contracts with service and maintenance anymore. So we will need to hopefully build that money through rates and collection of fees for the usage of those EVs. And in order to do that, much like the other revolving accounts that the town has set up over the number of years, is you just have to establish the account and the amount. So this would ultimately go
to the EVs, correct?
What was that?
This one is specific to the EV chargers at the library.
Correct.
So
But
we're just establishing the account, not funding anything.
Yeah, there have been some monies. I don't even know if we're in the black with what we've received from the EV chargers versus the actual electrical cost. It's very close right now. I'm talking to them about raising the rates even more, because this is something I just literally came from 2 towns doing, so I know how these things operate. Those fees need to go up again on those chargers. So I need to make sure that those are in the black. They cannot be operating even close to the red, because like I said, come 5 years, there's either going to be the moment in time where we say rip them out, or we're going to be able to maintain and keep these functioning. I mean, I've seen them make a decent amount of money in other communities. So is it a possible revenue stream? It's nothing great, but you can make $1,000, $2,000 a month off of it if you do it right.
Who's maintaining it now?
What was that?
Who's maintaining it now?
It's going into the, Lindsay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's going into the general, the money itself, Jim,
No, who is doing the maintenance today?
Oh, they're covered under a maintenance and service contract with the vendor that put them in for 5 years.
And that costs the town how much?
That cost the town nothing. It was included in the installation.
Okay.
So it was part of the installation of the.
All right. I just
EV
wanted to
charger.
make sure that was correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that would these funds would go to potentially build out the service or just take care of what we have in place now. And I think it would be more of the latter. Probably just taking care of what we have in place now. But Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds the sum of $100,000 to the reserve fund, and then another $50,000 to the water department reserve fund, or take any other action relative thereto. This is a standard, typical finance committee article that is generally and is in all years good practice, is to establish reserve funds and build those up, because you never know what's going to happen. It's our own insurance policy. Article 6, this covers the town clerk. So this is one of the government study committee questions. So this is the change from an elected town clerk to an appointed town clerk. And this basically talks about that, to that effect. So is there any questions here from the FinCom? I don't know how I would even comment on this, because I've seen both, and, appointed folks versus elected. It really is depends on the community, depends on the town. Article 7 is another question. This one's related to the elected versus appointed treasurer collector, making that change in status. Those who work in the treasurer or finance field know how important it is to have some of those credentials and educational background in order to fill that position. I think that's a very important one that we really push real hard to get to an appointed place. It's a very important position. The next one is in the same line of thinking, in the fact that it applies to the highway department superintendent or highway surveyor. Again, moving from elected to appointed. Article 9, this is to see if the town will vote to change it from Board of Selectmen to Select Board, simple name change of the board. Article 10, changing the water commissioners from elected to appointed. So much like your other positions of clerk, highway supervisor, and treasurer collector, instead these are elected water commissioners. And again, this is a home rule petition. This will not go to the ballot box. This is just for your personal information. If approved at town meeting, this will go straight to the Attorney General and then take effect upon passage by the Attorney General.
How many water commissioners are we talking about?
3.
3 that are elected?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, all 3. It's a 3-person board.
I just want to, over the last couple of articles, I just want to, as someone who participated in the government study committee, the point of these articles is, one, it's not to supplant anybody who's currently holding that office or who is elected to that office. Okay. So whoever is there or whoever gets elected in this election will fill out their term. And then once that term expires is when the appointment aspect here will come into effect. So the committee's been meeting for 18 months. I think we met with every department head. We discussed how the department works, what they think could be better, how they get along with other departments, how they get information outside of the town, how they work with other towns. There's a whole myriad of questions we asked everybody. The changing from elected to appointed is to bring a level of accountability to these roles that's currently, which I think is currently not there. And to that end, some of the people who we talk to believe that their positions should be appointed and not elected. So, I think it helps when issues come up, and not to pick on the water department, but when there's problems with the water, as we've all seen and heard, the Board of Selectmen have no play in how the water department functions or is run or tries to resolve issues, because they report to the voters. They don't, they don't roll up to the selectmen from in any type of an organizational chart. So that's the point of these. Again, as I said at the beginning, the people who are currently in those roles will stay in those roles until their term currently expires. So, we're not supplanting anybody. We're not replacing anybody. I think the last point I want to make is when it's an appointed position, the benefit is you broaden the pool of candidates that you can evaluate and interview. Because if you're going to be elected in the town of Halifax, you have to live in the town of Halifax. And I don't think there's a wide audience of people that know, I don't know how roads are built or how water filtration should work or, things of that nature. So if you broaden the pool of people, it will help get, you can talk to more in people with a larger skill set or an equal skill set than what would currently be there if, say, Steve Hayward won the lottery and came in and said, I'm not going to be highway surveyor anymore. Because, I've got $1 million or $10 million and I'm going to be living in Florida or wherever. But so that's what we want to try. That's the point of these, is to bring a level of accountability and open the applicant pool when that position becomes open to be filled through an appointment by the Board of Selectmen.
Yep, very well said, Jim. Article 11. So I do have a table I can show you guys on this one. So this is directly, and this is something you may want to see. So this refers to the HERO Act, I believe it's being called. And again, tomorrow night, I'm going to ask if Steve Littlefield will come and speak on this article, or I encourage you guys to speak to Steve Littlefield on this article to get a little bit of an understanding, a deeper understanding on it. But obviously, this impacts the amount of tax outlay that and tax rebates the town gives out. And for all those exemptions and abatements and everything else the town gives out, the town effectively has to eat those costs or is responsible for those costs. So let me pull up an email here. I have it readily available. So in our assessor's office, Caroline had put together a table here, which shows you, based on fiscal year 2025, the different clauses. And I can send this all out to you guys so you can take a deeper look at it on your own time and figure out exactly what Caroline's work shows here. But it shows you the different costs associated with each clause adoption in this question, in this article. So you'll see as you go down the list, by adopting the various clauses at certain different rates, which is what the question's asking here, 25, 50, 75%, 100%, what the town obligation would be cost-wise per year on an estimated basis. So I will make a point of forwarding that to you guys. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, stop sharing.
All right, so I'm back. There we go. All right, so, but again, so I will send that out to you guys so you have more information on that, so that you can build your recommendation, so you have the actual data. Moving on, if you have any other questions, I can certainly field those, or we can move on to, this is the soliciting bylaw, so there's not real much finance here, but. Moving on to this is Article 12. addressing potential soliciting or canvassing bylaw and basically all the definition. It's the full bylaw, so this is quite a number of pages. If you're interested in reading it, feel free to do so.
Do we get a lot of calls for this?
I believe, I know Chief Chops was responsible for putting it together. I don't know the history exactly on it.
Can Chief give us a little info if he's still on?
Yeah. So, guys, this was in response to a number of complaints we had from the residents, and basically, there's nothing in our bylaws that addresses enforcement. So, if we get a call from a resident that someone's, soliciting, there's nothing we can do. This would set up enforcement so we could actually force them to come in and register with us. And then also, if they found a violation, we would be able to assess fines. The bylaw was copied from the neighboring and surrounding towns that all have them, and Halifax did not have any. That's the reason why this was put forward.
Chief, is there a fee included to register as a salesperson, I guess, or whatever they call themselves nowadays, door knockers?
Yep, I believe the fee is $100. They have to come in. We do a BOP on them, do a background check on them, and then they have to, basically give us a check from their corporation or company in order to legally solicit in town.
So the registration fee, I see it there now, would be for the company, not the actual individuals. Let's say they sent 12 people into town, it wouldn't be $1,200.
So each person that so what happens, like for example, the companies that go out and solicit for the solar panels, each one of their employees has to come in. They have to pay the $100 fee.
Okay, so it's on the individual and not the company doesn't buy a one-time fee for as many people as they want.
No, it's individual applicants.
Yeah, I like that a lot better. Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
All right, so we got some clarification there. Moving on to Article 13, if we don't have any other questions on that. So this is directly speaking to the revolving accounts and funds associated with all the various departments. I would urge you guys to take a look. I know specifically this came up on Monday night with the school committee and potentially increasing their busing and full day kindergarten lines in preparation for, them planning for potentially charging for those services moving forward. I have not heard anything as a result from that meeting. I was told that I would potentially hear something, so I should probably reach back out to them and figure out if they want me to raise that, or is that something the FinCom may want to do and suggest on. But it's certainly something I'm taking suggestions on in relation to this as we move closer to town meeting. So something to think about. I did adjust this today based on a comment from Jim. So this is the funding of the FY27 capital plan. I took out the request from the clerk's department, even though I think it's something that needs to be done eventually and very soon, hopefully. And that is for the clickers for town meeting. I believe that will make the meeting more modern, more accurate. And I think it would stop from some of the tactics that are used and from what I've heard about as far as voting around other folks in town. And I think it would sort of curb that. So that being said, took that off. The assessor's recertification is the only item that is, there's a bunch of items on the capital plan that are a necessity, but this one is actively in place and gearing up for FY27 because it's the recertification for assessment values, and we have cyclicals currently ongoing. So, again, another item that is tied directly to this town's number one revenue source, and that's residential taxes. So something that needs to be done, $19,300. So that would mean that the ask at this current moment in time for town meeting would be $319,000 from free cash, another $300,000 from water enterprise retained earnings, where they plan on doing filter replacements. And then the total for the free cash for the town side would be $319,300.
So Steve, hang on for a sec. I think, unless I don't think there has been a capital planning committee meeting to approve this.
No.
So we have either we change the language here, right? Or a capital planning committee meeting needs to be scheduled.
Yeah, we could change the language or have, I could see how long the 19.3 can wait on certification to be paid. And
I'm not. So I think we have two things here that can happen. One, change the language. Finance committee, makes this recommendation, or we set a capital planning meeting before the town meeting, and they make the decision.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, Jim, needs to be a capital planning meeting in advance of town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have all the items on the list. It would just, it comes down to prioritizing them very quickly, and putting them on, but also just being leery of the potential free cash number that needs to potentially go across to the school department. Just being leery of that. But I'm open to assisting you guys doing whatever you need to do. If we need to convene the capital planning committee, let's do that. And
that would be my recommendation.
I'll second that recommendation. The $300,000 for water department filter replacement, is that existing filters that they're just replacing, or are they upgrading with that $300,000?
I'd have to look into the specifics of the capital request, but I believe it's filter replacements. That's the way it was described to me, as replacements of filters.
Of existing filters.
Of existing filters, yes.
That's not installing something to deal with the oxides or the PFAS or any of that nature?
No. This has to do with, filter replacement.
Existing infrastructure.
Yep.
And is that something that is this a reoccurring cost every year, $300,000? Is this once every 5 years, 10 years? Any idea the figure? This
one is a one-time cost for this year. It's out of water retained earnings. So the 300, Rod, you may be referring to the road maintenance, which is a $300,000 yearly item.
That's a good question, Steve. I was actually curious if the filter replacement is a yearly cost of just general maintenance, and that's the approximate cost every year for the water department.
Okay, no, it's my understanding that this is a one-time cost that will have a shelf life. I do not know exactly what that shelf life is. I'll have to check in with the water superintendent, but this is a one-time item because last year I believe it was something completely different.
Okay, thanks.
And I think Lindsay might know more about exactly what was done on their capital plan last year, but it wasn't filters. So then we move down to Article 15, which is the $3,500 to the South Coastal Counties Legal Services for activities with low-income families, elders, and children, which is a standard article annually in Halifax. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise an appropriate transfer from available funds to pay any unpaid bills with the town of schools for prior years, take any other action relative thereto.
How many prior years are you talking about here, going back before somebody sends us a bill because they forgot in 2014?
Just last year for the most part, which you look back towards basically this fiscal year, or basically, well, last fiscal year. Would be addressing anything from last fiscal year.
Can we just change it to say prior year, singular, instead of plural? So, and I guess my question is that, even when even the state of Massachusetts only allows 6 weeks after the close of the fiscal year to send them a bill.
Yeah.
And if you don't send it within that 6 weeks, you're not getting paid. So,
right.
I think we should limit it to a year.
Yeah. I think you're right. So I just took off the S.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a couple of years ago, Steve, we got a bunch of bills from previous years.
Yeah. Okay.
Been floating around or whatever they were doing with them, or they found it behind the filing cabinet when they moved their office or something. But we got a bunch of bills.
Yeah.
And they were old.
Right.
Lindsay, is there anything compliance-wise on that?
Well, I was just going to say that I currently don't even have anything that would be going towards this article in general, to my knowledge.
Okay.
So last year, I believe we also only had one school bill. So currently, I don't even have anything. To my knowledge, it is just something that's always been on there. But I don't really know anything further than that. But currently I have no bills that would qualify for that article anyway.
So we'll leave it in there in the event something comes up, and maybe it's something that we can take out as well, or strike before we get there.
Okay.
So Article 17, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate. This is $3,500 South Shore Resource Advocacy Center for Domestic Violence Intervention and Prevention Services for its residents. This is Article 18, which refers to the $150, which is given to 4-H and the Cooperative Extension every year. Article 19. I believe this probably directly goes to your question from earlier, Frank. Speaking to the PFAS funds.
Yes.
Basically, this talks about those monies and putting them. Which one is this? Yes. So this is basically to establish the fund for the PFAS to go into the PFAS monies. And then the next article right after that is to see if the town vote to appropriate the sum of money already in the general fund from PFAS settlement stabilization into that account.
Do we know that dollar amount so we can include that under Article 20?
I can get it tomorrow.
That way we can have it in the article, Steve, and Lindsay, so it shows the dollar
Yep,
amount.
I can get that. I can get that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And then this article, if approved, Steve, correct me, please, it will allow for us to start allocating some of this PFAS money to some of the issues we currently have around town regarding PFAS.
Correct.
And that would include the additional sampling that we need to start doing.
I will have to make sure on that, but I believe I did see in the language surrounding the establishment of this fund, it was for sampling purposes as well. I did see sampling.
That's going to be one of the biggest drivers we have is the sampling cost.
Of course, yeah. No, I would expect it to be in there, but I don't want anyone to take my word as gospel. I want to make sure I verify that.
And would the water department have access to these funds as well if we wanted to install PFAS filters prior to discharge down the water system, down gradient?
I would imagine that
because they're an enterprise fund.
I would imagine the money could be allocated to those purposes as long as they fall in statutorily. Yeah, it's really just statutes that they need to meet.
Right, and because they're an enterprise fund, so things are a little different with the enterprise funds.
They are a little different, but it has never stopped another town from taking money out of general fund to pay for something. Maybe necessarily for the water department. So we could, and if it's directly related to the water, with these specialized accounts, they're geared towards specialized purposes. So something we can certainly check into, but I would be very surprised if we could not directly fund this money into project cost for that the water department was carrying out to help sort of help those projects along, because again, they're working with the item that is being impacted the most with PFAS. So,
And whether or not the filters they're currently planning to change out may already address some of those PFAS reductions as well. Depends.
Yeah, Rod, that's what I was getting at earlier. What are we talking about with these filters? You know, are they sediment filters? Are they carbon filters for PFAS? What are they? Are they combination units? What are we talking about here?
that's a good question. I'll have to get the details from the water superintendent. All right. You have a hand up, Jim?
Chris?
Mr. Winowitz.
I can say I attended the water meeting the other night when they talked about those filters. So obviously don't take my word for it and double check with them, but they were talking about existing filters that are already there and basically vacuuming all the sand and all the filter material out and it gets replaced. So I don't believe it was PFAS filters. I think it's just existing filters that are already there.
Yeah, so it's their sand filters they're cleaning and upgrading.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. So that was Article 20. And if we're all set with there, we'll move on to Article 21, which is to see if the town, and this will be what was that? So this will be a this will have a supplemental material added to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Law 13812D, which would allow the Board of Selectmen as the local licensing authority of the town to approve a request from a licensee to convert existing license to sell wines and malt beverages for on-premises consumption to a license to sell alcoholic beverages for on-site. Generally, from what I understand, this will only impact breweries or places that only sell beer and wine currently on premises. And if they wanted, the select board could unilaterally make the move for them to be all alcohol if we had a situation like that in town, but we do not, as it stands right now. So one would have to be established before that right would have to be given. And then Article 22, this is a citizen's petition. Soils contaminated and reclamation. This will to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Halifax town bylaws by adding a new section 165. And then it gets into the details as far as the different types of soils, the different regulations in CMR, and all the way down, basically speaking about essentially one of the uses that's currently going on in town. So I
have a couple of questions here on this. Okay.
I don't know technically what I can answer, but I will try.
Well, all right. I appreciate that. So the first one is the nuisance trade that's being referenced here doesn't specifically call out contaminated soils as a nuisance trade. Now, I know they have layered in language that is so wide ranging that it covers like everything, right? Because it says, if anything is that could injure or, assault or offend or whatever, the public health can be considered a nuisance trade. However, the process that's laid out is the Board of Health declares it a nuisance trade. And there has to be like a public hearing specifically to declare something a nuisance trade. So I don't know if that's occurred yet. Because I believe this is in reference to Maryland's Landing. And then the second thing is they reference a soil recycling facility as in section 9.1. There it is. Right? But section 9.1 of WSC 94-400 is actually a Massachusetts Permitted Soil Recycling Facility Summary Levels Chart.
Ew.
Again, why I have to watch what I say as comments, because again, this is a
Well,
citizen,
I'm not asking you to
citizen
comment.
petition, so.
Yeah, so I don't think this here is referencing the right section.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the process has been followed for whatever area we're referring to for the Board of Health to declare this site to be, a nuisance trade. So I don't know.
Has the AG's office verified the legality?
It's going to have to go up to the AG office for legality, I guess.
Right.
If it's voted, approved at town, at the election,
meeting.
yes.
Right.
That was my question for Steve. Is it after the town meeting that it would go for a legality check or before?
I will say this is that town council is reviewing it for its potential impact if it were to pass.
Okay.
This is similar to half a dozen articles that were put in last year that didn't quite meet the mail as far as being legally by the AG's office.
Right.
So even if they were voted in, they would have never been approved by the AG's office.
Yep. So those are my only two questions.
Yep.
Chris Winowitz, you have your hand up.
Hi, Jim. I was one of the citizens that proposed this.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if I can answer a couple questions. 90% of this article was taken word for word from other towns that have already passed it, going back to 2018, when they determined that these soils were not good to the public in their towns. I did change, I don't know if you can scroll back to the top of it. So Dartmouth is one of them. They were very strict in their purpose of it. They worded theirs that no soil could even travel through their town. It did get back around, I think, 2018-19, a lawsuit, but from what I can determine, it was upheld because it's still on their books for a bylaw. The town of Middleborough basically has the same Section 1 purpose, but since they have an active landfill in their town, still accepting municipal solid waste, they do allow the trucking through to it. I think it's COM 97, only to an active landfill. But the rest of all the wording is still the same on soil reuse. And I would assume it's already been reviewed by Attorney General when it's gone through their towns.
Okay.
These laws came about when in 2018, the Mass DEP solid waste developed new regulations where the soil previously was illegal and couldn't go. And they loosened up, I guess, regulations that could start going some other places.
Sure.
A couple other projects already had big, huge problems with it. And basically they were shut down. The town sued, shut it down. And then in 2018, there was a whole handful of various towns that put bylaws in effect to protect their towns and residents from the soil.
Sure. Well, so, and that's fine, Chris. I'm not, again, I'm not an attorney. I looked up some of the sections that were referenced in here. The one that I specifically was talking about is actually not even, says nothing about what a solid waste facility is. It's a chart for summary levels for, soil recycling facilities. So I'm just saying that could be a potential challenge. There's really no financial impact to the town. And I don't, if this is what the town wants to vote on, it certainly is their decision, but there's no financial piece here for us to be in favor of or vote up or down, I think, as far as I can tell. Steve?
I think there's a high potential liability because it's my understanding that the landfill operations that are going on out there are a corrective action, which is mandated by the state. And if something's mandated by the state, just because you put a bylaw into place doesn't mean the state's not going to still look for that to be addressed. And the issue out there is, as everyone knows, you have a cap that's not working appropriately, and you have a layer underneath the landfill that maybe never functioned or was never put in. So you have a lot of questions. So then the corrective action is currently ongoing. And if you do actions to stop that corrective action, you still have to complete that as a town. Or I should say Republic Services, who's on the hook. So they would maybe have to come up with a different scenario, which I don't know if that's possible in this setting. I don't know. Again, this is being reviewed by town council for those very matters.
So Frank, this is right in your wheelhouse. So what are
Yeah,
your thoughts?
and I just got so many things I can be saying right now, and I don't think that this is the appropriate place for me to do that.
Okay.
No, and I do have what Steve said, supporting information right from the DEP. Obviously, it's not the Finance Committee's purview of this, but it basically goes on to say there's a lot of misinformation going on here. I'm looking at it right now where it says to fix the cap, only 0 to 10 feet is needed right from the DEP. I'm looking at their own settlement and stability analysts where it says there will be no more settlement with additional soil, which, yeah, but this probably isn't the right place, but there's a lot of misinformation being said about the place. I also did find that BFI has almost $1 million bond right now to correctly fix the cap. So it looks like they do have money put somewhere with the DEP to correctly fix that cap.
What is going on? Well, I'm not going to.
Okay. Anyway. All right. So this is under review by the town council, yes?
Yep. Yep.
All right.
I'm so curious, though.
Frank, he's still on screen? There he is.
I mean, in fairness, the entire warrant's under review by town council. It's just that time of year. He's looking through all of the articles to make sure they're compliant with Mass General Law. So they're just doing their full review.
Sure.
Chris, thank you for giving us your rationale for this article. It's appreciated.
And Jim, you do have a hand up.
Okay, Deb Winowitz.
Yeah, just real quick, because I realize, like you said, there's no financial for finance committee to vote up or down on this. But I do think if something like this is not put in place this year, it could down the road have a significant financial impact. If we start seeing well waters contaminated, people with illnesses, it could have a significant impact if something like this is not put in place, even if it's to finish it and then end it so that it can't continue.
Yeah, I could certainly get behind that after the corrective action. I think that's a plausible way out of this. I think if people understood that it is a corrective action and ultimately it's not the best practice, yes, we understand that. But at the same time, it's liabilities are liabilities. So if there's a potential huge one here, I don't think the town should put themselves at risk. And that's where I'll leave that and let town council figure that out and advise us. So.
And I think that's part of the misinformation, just to say, because I'm reading right here, the approved plateau area repairs on the membrane, they're only 0 to 10 feet. I needed to reestablish the slopes and to finish and corrective the top of the dump. So I think they're using that as a reason to say they need all this hundreds of feet, well, 100 feet more additional dirt on top. When looking at the DEP papers, it says you needed minimal to fix the cap. Once the cap's fixed, all additional dirt is just basically a dirt project.
Okay. Interesting.
And then moving on, lastly is just the election warrant, essentially, which is the votes, and then I will be adding the additional ballot questions as well to this section.
I had a question on on this petition. Is this adding additional seats to the various boards, or is this reconfiguring the election cycle? I'm a bit confused by this warrant. This
will go towards filling open seats.
Okay.
So seats that are becoming open as of July 1st, now folks are going to begin to run for those same positions.
Okay.
And I don't even know if it's July 1st. I think it might even turn over sooner than that. I don't know the exact date on that, but I could double check that. But Rod, yeah, this is to fill what are expected to be open positions.
Okay.
So for instance, I know that Jonathan had put in papers to run for select board chair. And there's, as you see down there where it says select board, they're looking for one, for instance.
Right.
And then, one planning board member to replace an outgoing member. So that's how it works in general. We get prepared knowing what the vacancies will be.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Steve, I believe these take place immediately after election.
Yeah, because they do. They get sworn in like the next Monday, don't they? Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
Okay.
All right, that was the end of that presentation.
Okay.
The warrant articles.
Okay. So when will the warrant be ready for the finance committee to vote on?
I have to have it ready for the select board for final approval by the 7th, 8th, or 9th of April.
Okay.
So I'll be working on it at length tomorrow to make sure all those red areas, me and Lindsay will figure out the funding notes and any questions that arose from tonight.
So does that mean you said the 7th, 8th, or 9th, right? So that gives us the 6th.
6th is that a holiday? No,
that's not a holiday. No.
No holiday.
Day after Easter.
Yeah.
Day after Easter. Yeah.
We'll all come in with a sugar buzz.
Bring all your extra Easter candy in with you.
I like the mini
Jelly
Cadbury
beans.
eggs with just the chocolate.
No, robin eggs, baby, robin eggs.
Careful. I had some conflict of interest going on there. They'll be gifting out eggs.
Yeah, Mike, I didn't see you Saturday over at the school. I thought I'd see you over there.
No, I missed that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, you did.
Having my own Easter egg hunt this weekend for all my family. My dad does like 1,000 eggs for all the neighborhood kids.
Wow.
It's wild.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay, so then I guess just to kind of close that discussion out, we'll put the warrant article vote on the agenda for Monday the 6th of April.
Yep.
Which would be an in-person meeting for the team at Town Hall. Does that give you enough time, Steve?
Sure.
We should hear back. Everything should be back from the town attorney by then.
That's a good question. I'll have to check in.
Okay.
The only thing I'm thinking is the last article, the citizens.
Right. Right.
So that's the last one that's sort of being reviewed right now because it's a little bit more.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, Steve, thank you for the detail on everything. Did a great job, so we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And the explanations were good. So the next item we had on the agenda was free cash certification status. Is that today, tomorrow? When is that?
I saw Lindsay and Linda working on this so hard today. I know that they got close, and tomorrow's the deadline. Lindsay, are you there?
Yeah.
If you want to give the committee an update about you and Linda huddling up.
Oh my God. So we are looking for one more entry. There were, I want to say 10 that we were trying to find from, I'm not even kidding you, everything balanced up until the last quarter. So from this time last year up until June is where we had 10, 12 entries that we were tearing apart to make balance. So we have one more to do tomorrow. Once that's done, we will have a number.
Okay.
Well, we'll be at a joint meeting tomorrow, Jim, so we should
Right.
know the number.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
Right,
do want to
Lindsay?
commend both Lindsay and Linda for just pulling up their bootstraps and getting this done, because it was quite the last 4 days. I mean,
Yeah.
they were here parts of Friday and Saturday as well. So
Wow.
that's just so people in the public know that too. You know, the cuts we're going through are pretty deep, but we were still here Friday and Saturday making sure we were ready for this week. And we're going to do what we need to do. So
Absolutely.
Appreciate you coming in on the weekend,
Yep.
Lindsay. That's a lot of dedication, and I respect that.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that, Lindsay. Again, just to echo Frank, great work. Appreciate all the hard work behind that. Moving on to the next agenda item, which I had listed as the elementary school budget. We've discussed that ad nauseum this evening. I think we're all agreed with, with the budget that we did vote on earlier. So I think we're pretty set there. So we'll just go ahead. Unless anybody has any further comment on that, we'll move to the next agenda item.
Only comment I have, Jim, is I don't know if it was on my end or what. I could not get that live feed to broadcast. I don't know if they had an issue on that side or what on that meeting from last Monday.
I heard different things, Frank. I heard some people got it. So.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I was on it as well. It took sometimes I logged in twice, and one time I got in right away. One time I had to wait.
There were two separate links out. One of the links that was going around would not take you into the live feed, but the second one did.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So maybe that was it.
Yeah.
Frank, they sent you the wrong link.
There's probably a good reason for that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Moving on to correspondence and as may arise. I have not gotten any emails from any residents or anyone else in the town to be discussed with the committee here, unless one of the committee members has gotten something outside of the committee. I don't have any other as may arise items to discuss while we're all here. Okay.
I have.
Yes.
Sorry, Jim. Just something to bring up for. In the event that the override doesn't pass and the budget that's voted on at town meeting goes into effect with the cuts involved, and I know the fire chief had talked about having to not use one of our ambulances because we won't have the staff for it. Has a town ever not leased out but contracted out an ambulance that they have to another municipality to make money that way to bring in some revenue for that mothballed ambulance? I didn't know if Stephen knew that or if the chief. I don't think he's on, but just something to.
Yeah, chief is off. That's a great question. I know. I think what I know, and Steve, you can help me kind of figure this out, or at least say I'm right or wrong. I know that there is an ambulance charge to the patient when an ambulance call goes out. A patient who is not on Medicare is charged, I think, $2,400 for that ambulance run. Someone who is on Medicare, I think they can only bill like $950, I think, $750 to $950, somewhere in that area. So, the challenge is that, costs of stocking the ambulance every time they go, getting, replacing the medications, drugs, bandages, or other, items that they would use, that cost goes up. That's an ancillary cost that's really probably not talked about when you're talking about ambulances, other than staffing or who you're putting on it. And then so there's that cost, which should be funded by the receipt of the, monies from the bill. But, that's if the bill gets paid. That's the other side of that. And plus with the demographic that we have in a town that has a larger elderly population who are utilizing, parts B, C, and D of Medicare, you're not getting the amount of money you normally would get from someone who is regularly insured, I guess, for lack of a better term.
You explained it far better than I could.
I think I think that's something that the Chief Whittam could probably speak to if that's something that he's heard of or done. So that's probably a better question for him, and maybe we can put that to him tomorrow night.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think it's worthwhile interrogating all options, especially
Absolutely. No stone should be left unturned. And when you find another stone, turn that one over too.
Exactly.
Okay. So we'll close out correspondence and as may arise, and we'll open it up for public participation. So I think we still have a number of people on the call. Anybody from the public have any questions for the Finance Committee or anyone here regarding what we have discussed on the agenda this evening? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to next meeting planning. So tomorrow night in person with the Board of Selectmen to present the budget we just voted on this evening. Okay, 6 p.m. All right. And then we'll follow that up with a meeting next Monday to go over the warrant articles and vote on those. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Voice vote. Cheryl.
Yes.
Mike Bennett.
Yes.
Frank Johnston.
Yes, to adjourn, please.
EJ.
Yes.
Mike Rignetta.
I'm a yes.
Rod Hemingway.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for attending. Appreciate your time.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone.
Thank you all.
Night,
Bye.
everybody.
Good night.